morning, everyone. This is Debat Sloth. It's September 1st, rather, 2015. We are on day 4 of our Pleb puzzle game Pleb puzzle game dev stream, where we build a puzzle game from scratch. First 3 days have been absolutely fantastic. We've hit our first waymark, our first milestone of 10 followers. The hype is real. We're the next big milestone is gonna be 50 followers. So I'm gonna talk to some of the viewers that have been hanging out and see if we can come up with something fun to do for 50 in anticipation of 50 viewers, and we'll keep doing milestones like that. Perhaps some retro gaming, something like that. See if we can pull up some retro gaming on this Pleb hardware. So today, yesterday we had a lot of fun. We had a bunch of people stop in. And yesterday was Make Amend Monday. We were just working on our build, fixing up stuff along with, doing the infrastructure kind of stuff, the boring stuff out of the way. And if you'll excuse me, I am going to eat a little breakfast while we do this, if you don't mind me. Not very professional, but time is limited. Okay. I'm also, yesterday I experimented by just playing some iTunes. We kind of figured that, I figured I wouldn't worry about the licensing issues and just see what would happen. I also want to see how it worked when it got up, how the licensing stuff worked with YouTube when you push it up there. But this is all royalty-free. I'm using the royalty-free Monster Cat today. So hopefully you guys don't mind a little EDM. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, I think. All right. Hopefully that's, again, if the volume is too low or too high, please let me know. There we go, it's a little better. I had to adjust my headset. Alrighty. So, as I was saying, yesterday we had, yesterday was Make Amend Monday. We updated the build, we worked on some stuff. Some boring stuff, and then in the afternoon, actually, we had a new viewer who came in, who was trying to figure out a fishing bot he was making, which, we discussed. It's kind of against the terms of service for the game he was playing, but at the same time, considering that it couldn't really, the demo he was using couldn't really use up much resources on the server he was playing on, and the fact that he was doing it himself and taking responsibility for it, I felt like, I had to kind of support my followers and help him out figure out what he was doing. Now, again, apologize to the developers of Trove if I pissed you guys off. What I was going to suggest if he comes online today is that we talk to them, see if we can do our own server. If it's possible to do player-run servers, then I would feel a lot better about it. I mean, then we're not potentially interfering with one of their servers or someone else's game. Feel a lot more comfortable about it that way. But we will, if he comes in today, we will continue and help him out with that. I tried to look over the documentation for the program he was using last night, and it's tricky. But we were very close to getting it to do what he wanted, so hopefully he'll come on. We'll work on that a little bit more today as well. Now, in the meantime, we got to work on my build. Excuse me. I'm going to work on my stuff here. Just to recap, yesterday we updated, we kind of organized some of the source. So now, instead of building directly under the client is no longer, the client website is no longer built directly under its source tree. It copies over to a build directory and then linked so that the relative file paths are correct. This is something that is all temporary. We're going to ultimately update that, I think, and change it a bit. Another thing I would note that today is we're calling Tech Support Tuesday. So in the absence of anything else to do, I'm going to continue working on my game. However, if viewers come in and ask for help, since this worked out so well yesterday and it was so much fun and we got a couple new followers from it, I'm happy to continue doing the tech support stuff. So if you got something that's broken and you're trying to get it fixed, you got a mod that won't install, you got a script that won't work, you got something that's just that's bugging you that we've been trying to get ready, me and my viewers will try to help. I will help you out with that. Just let me know. We can Skype in. I can take a peek at what's going on there, and then between me and my viewers, we have a couple of great viewers here who are very helpful, who have all sorts of great ideas. This being a dev cast, we seem to get a pretty good technical group here. So we're going to try to leverage that. So hopefully someone will come in with some new problems in addition to the one we were working on yesterday, and we'll keep doing this stuff. I'm happy to interrupt my work to do the tech support. Today, it's like Tuesdays will be open questions. Any viewer can come in and ask for help or help for work on something, and we'll try to make it happen. The rest of the week, I'm going to focus, I'm going to ask you to wait till Tuesday, if you can, so that we can continue making progress on the game as well. But Tuesdays will be dedicated to user requests in terms of troubleshooting, fixing stuff. So we're creating traditions here. We're starting, we're creating traditions, creating our thing here. Again, we want to come up with our own flavor and our own community here in this channel. And so far, again, I really can't thank the viewers that have come on enough, because it's been really instrumental. And this has been great for me. I've been having a great time. I can't wait. I look forward to doing this every day, and I will be here every day doing this. Pardon me. We will make progress come hell or high water, right? And for those just popping in and out, we are making a puzzle game, and we're doing it in HTML5. I'm using WebGL through Pixie.js. Probably going to end up messing around with 3.js and, a bunch of other WebGL stuff. This is a very simple game. So until we get into, effects and stuff like that, we're probably not going to really, we're just going to be mostly using the Pixie.js API, which is pretty good for what we need to do. In my opinion. Now, I'm sorry, if I can, I just realized I have to, go turn on the AC, because it is going to get incredibly hot today. So if you don't mind, I'm actually going to, it doesn't look like I have any viewers here, so while we're still waiting for people to show up and me get myself together here, I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break, turn on the AC, and be right back. Thank you. One moment. Alrighty. Alright. So let's do something fun here. And we're going to do let's start working on some interesting stuff. We had been doing making men crap yesterday. So we're going to put that aside for now. Let's just take a look at, excuse me. We're going to take a look. Let's get our GitHub open. Alright. Okay. We get our desktop set up. I like to kind of I found that for casting, using this setup works pretty well. Gets a lot on the screen. Most people can see what's going on. Oh, you know what? I'm going to move myself right. Yesterday I moved this while we were doing the troubleshooting. I moved myself over to the left here. We're going to go back to the we are going to go, where are we now? There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. Again, I am very new to this. This is my 4th day casting altogether. So, the one of the purposes besides making game is to actually get into the habit and understand how to cast and how to make this all happen properly. And speaking of which, not only did I forget the AC, I forgot my overhead light, which I think will help this morning. There's not a lot of light in the morning in this one, so in my studio here. So, oops, sorry, excuse me. Get this. All right, so here we go. And again, apologize for my unprofessional public speaking habits. I'm going to try to get a lot better about that as time goes on. Feel like I'm improving slightly day by day. Every day I try to find one new thing to do to improve the stream. Yesterday I tried doing, I set up the overlay. Today I got the royalty-free music going on so we can groove out a little bit. I've also been optimizing my network and tweaking my OBS configuration and workflow. And I'm learning a lot. One of the things I definitely want to do too, one of the things we'll have to get into is, although I'm not the artist for, I have a dedicated artist for this project, my friend Tony, that we're working together on. I'm something of an amateur artist myself, and I've been doing the graphics and stuff for my own, for my channel. So I'd like to work on that too. I mean, I kind of like to do I need to make some more graphics. I need to set up my profile. I need to set up, my landing page on Twitch and YouTube, etc. And for that, we need some nice branding, right? And I don't really have a lot right now. So we're going to work on that at some point. I think that we should do that on stream, actually, bring up some Photoshop. And so we'll do some design stuff too, as well as game development. And that should be fun. Hopefully a little change. Maybe we'll do that next week. Or bottom line is, I want to improve the stream. And oh, Jesus Christ. Yep, I know. Just had my mic off. Good thing no one was watching. And it was so good too. I was going strong there. Okay, so bottom line is we're gonna do some. We're gonna work on game development. We're gonna try to work on some game logic. Right now, we're doing a puzzle game, right? So our puzzle game is going to be a mobile game. We're assuming we're gonna kind of deploy on mobile. We're looking at a top-down 2D grid. That's the first thing we got to get working here. So let's work on that today, right? Top-down 2D grid. Let's create an issue. Let's take a look at our issues. Whoops. Okay, that's a make amend thing. I'm gonna ask Angelo to do that because I think it'll be easier for him. For some reason, I don't know. I can figure this out. We should figure this out, but for some reason, not what I wanted. Okay about that. Okay, so the last thing we did was basically try to get the canvas that our game is displaying into center on the screen. I believe. Let's see if that worked actually. Right. And we're using our Sass here. No, we're compiling our CSS. I don't know if you're familiar with Sass, but this is basically just allows some nice syntactic sugar. And since my artist cares a lot about it, I care about it. So I started. So I'm learning how to use that. It adds a little complication to the build. Not that big of a deal though, really. It's, so let's go see. Let's start here. We'll go back to. Let's take a look at our. Oh, first of all, let's get to our project demo. Whoops. Yeah, I'm just kind of manually, I could do this stuff automated, but yeah, it's just literally easier for me. It's so easy for me to do right now that like by manually, I just kind of run things manually. Alrighty. That bugs me actually. I'm going to need to do one quick thing here. I'm going to open up Safari, keep that separate, and I'm going to use that for my Twitch dashboard. So that way, I no longer have it up on my second window. I no longer have to worry about it being up on my second window. So when I Alt-Tab to the appropriate, okay, very good. Right, so now if we go Alt-Tab to here, excuse me, oh. Excuse me, sir. I see the problem here. Okay, one quick problem, guys. One more thing. I'm gonna have to stop the music for a moment. Rid of that. Okay, one more here. Excuse me. I'm just gonna get the music right back on here. Let's go to my scat. My scat. Pop that out. Oh, I'm trying to, anyways. Okay. We're whitelisted. Let us see. Hopefully this will now pop out. What I want to do, what I'm trying to do is just pop out the monster cat. It's not working. But that's alright. Boy, where is all that static coming from? Gee, I don't know if you guys hear that, but I hear it. I think it must be the AC coming through my mic. Hopefully it's not as bad for you guys. Hey, if we got a lurker there, welcome. I'm just getting set up here. Again, apologize, I'm kind of new to this, so we're just getting set up here. I want to get some music and make sure that I could easily alt-tab, because this, I need to easily alt-tab over to my Safari, I mean my Chrome, so I want to set up some other stuff in Safari so it doesn't, you know, interfere with multiple windows, etc. So, that's not working, is it? This is not working, and well, I mean, we were trying to center this, so my artist came in yesterday and gave me a quick heads up on how to do that. And it didn't work. So we're going to fix it, though. Again, let me know if you're watching and you're lurking in the back there and you come out and you pop in. Please let me know if the music is a little too loud or too not loud enough, or etc. Okay. Oops, that's not right. Okay. See, So the problem I'm having right now is that if you see here, okay, so less, I have a feeling this might have something to do with it. It's just normalize less. Is that because that seems like it's you know, lower in the thing, and I don't see anything below here that seems to, like, this all looks fine, right? I don't see anything here. This looks like it might. Okay. Well, forget about it. So that's not working. We'll come back to that. But in the meantime, what we want to do here is we got to be able to set up some grids, right? So what I did was... Actually, let me kill this because it uses up a fair amount of CPU. Well, not really. Uses some. Okay, so we have our domain model here, right? Let's go back up to our classes. It's one of the things I didn't quite realize is we probably want classes here. So this is where I put like actual. I actually write in TypeScript. Okay, and the reason I do that is I've been over this, but basically the type safety, the compile time type safety allows me to kind of. I think a little bit. If we're doing an object-oriented design, I just find TypeScript to be a lot more idiomatic. You know, you have to make a lot of decisions about how you're going to implement class and inheritance and all of that, because you don't get it for free with JavaScript, really, besides the prototype mechanism, right? Which is not exactly the same thing as class inheritance. So, more of a compositional than an extension model, right? So all I did was kind of create a grid here, just to kind of figure out, you know, just to kind of create a little simple model. Then we created some tests. So we have a grid, we give it a size, it defaults to 6 by 6. Creates a bunch of tiles, which right now have really no real, what's the word I'm looking for? No real data. I mean, we know they're container objects, and we know that tiles will contain other things, right? We know that much. However, what we don't know. One second. I'm gonna turn this down because I don't. Thanks, Monster Cat. You get the wubs were getting a little intense for me to think. Pardon me. So, okay, so very simply, if we look, we have two classes here, grid and tile, right? And it's simple enough. We just get return. The way I did this was super, super simple, right? We just created a two-dimensional array of tiles, which is really all a grid is. I mean, a grid's just a wrapper around a two-dimensional array of tiles. Tiles are just containers that will contain other objects like, you know, in our, you know, tiles represent kind of a patch of territory, so to speak, right? So we have a couple different ways we can implement it. Right now, I'm trying to keep this model abstracted. Like, I'm not going to put any sprites. Like, a tile could be a sprite, as could a grid. Like, it'll most likely be represented as a sprite in the game, but I don't want... one of the things I've noticed in a lot of game tutorials is what they do is they really don't make any distinction between the sprite and what the sprite represents. And in terms of long-term architecture and design, I think that is a mistake in that there's a big difference between rendering. Hey, what language is this? It's mostly JavaScript. And welcome, Ned. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Your first visitor this morning, first chatter. So what I'm working on is I'm making a puzzle game, and it's made in, we're doing it in HTML5, WebGL, that kind of thing. I'm using Pixie.js as the main API, and I've never used any of these. I'm familiar with JavaScript and Node and yada yada. So hey, again, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. We hit our first milestone of 10 followers yesterday. Like, really excited after 3 days. So the next big milestone is 50 viewers. I'm going to do something special for that. We don't know what yet, but as the viewers come up, we'll try to come up with something. In the meantime, yeah, this is basically just an HTML based, you know, this is a simple site. If you look here, this under source is really where everything we're working on right now. It's basically just a simple web page with a stub view, a simple object model of tile and grid right now. We've got a simple controller that does nothing. This is our app, configures everything, and this is our game logic right now. Very simple, very stupid. Just creates a sprint, proved that I could load the framework, make sure all the dependencies were taken care of, and actually load a texture and animate it, right? That's all we've done so far. Now we got to actually do it, like, you know, some game logic here. So we're going to do some refactorization and start working on that. But this is almost all in JavaScript. I'll probably integrate some CoffeeScript. Specifically for the domain model, I use TypeScript, which is just a another syntax for JavaScript that it's a compiler Microsoft provides. It's an open source compiler from Microsoft that compiles down to JavaScript. So you can see here, I can show you, I could show you, this actually gets turned into game model JavaScript and loaded into the whole thing. But it's much more idiomatic, I think, to when you're doing object-oriented design to use TypeScript. And again, if you let me know if the music or the audio or the video or anything is all messed up, because this is I'm new to this and I can't really, I'm only working off my laptop and I cannot always view my own, tell exactly what's going on in my own stuff. Speaking of which, 1 second, I'll be right back in 10 seconds. I'm just going to turn on the overhead light because I have a feeling that might help see me a little better too. So again, Ned, thanks for the follow, Ned. I really appreciate it. Hey, do you happen to notice if my my follow notification came up? Because the overhead is supposed to, I created an overlay and it's supposed to give you some hype. Oh, there isn't any music? Thank you. Perfect. See? Do you hear anything now? I'm playing Monster Cat in the background. You know what I mean? It should be coming through the desktop audio. Yesterday, it was funny. I was running off of iTunes, just not really worrying about, I wasn't going to monetize it, so I didn't care. Oh, it did? Okay, good. Awesome. Well, again, congratulations. There's also supposed to be a little, like, Rick and Morty soundbite, too, but I don't think that's working yet. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Totes my goats, dog. That's what I was supposed to say when you followed, so I'll give it to you. Totes my goats, man. Thank you. Or totes my loats, I think he said. I don't know. Rick and Morty. I love that show. Okay, good. So we got the audio moving. We've got a viewer. We've got ourselves set up here. So let's actually, you know what I'm going to do? I think we need one more thing. So we've got tiles, we've got grids. We don't have any way to display them. We need some sort of way of mapping. What I don't want to do is make direct associations between my domain model, my abstract game domain model, and how I present it. Because think of it this way, if you're building a cool game, you really like it, and it's a great game, you might have different clients. Like imagine a game that, you have a mobile client, you have a tablet, and then you have a couple different platforms. The underlying mechanics of exactly how your game gets represented could be, 2D, 3D, etc. But you don't necessarily want to change the model every time. The game itself is the game, no matter how you present it. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is keep that that kind of architectural principle in mind as I design here. And speaking of which, so ultimately, I think what we will need is a service that we will, let's see here, is like a domain to display, mapping service, where we can assign the associations between our domain and how we represent it with loose coupling, right? But we'll get to that. For now, we don't have to worry too much about that. Right now, we got one tile showing, we got one sprite showing up. Let's see if we can get some more stuff. So let's create an actual grid of these guys. Let's look at so let's go back to our game. Right now, you can see here, all we do, let's go over our code, is what we have so far. Right? Very simple. We just create a grid, and I'm just logging it there to make sure that it was showing up. This is just simple debugging stuff, right? We create our Pixie screen, which is just a canvas, which is, and it initializes WebGL. We create a new sprite from our, you can't see it here because it gets copied over. Let's find it. Where are we? This is just a little agave ping, right? Now, I got this, I want to mention, I got this from the RimWorld. If you've ever played the game RimWorld, it's an awesome game. I highly recommend getting it. It's an alpha stage, but it's like better than a lot of production releases. And it's a wicked fun game if you're into like Dwarf Fortress, that kind of, it's like a space colonization type game. but they release a pack with he releases all of his original Photoshop and Illustrator files and all of that for the game as for modders. It supports modding really well. So while I'm waiting for deliverables from my artist, I'm just using his stuff temporarily. But while I'm using it, I also want to make sure I give him a shout every time, because RimWorld is just such a great game, and you know, since I highly recommend going and getting it if you're into those kind of games. And again, pardon me while I eat my oatmeal for breakfast here. So for now, that's just like, this is like our tile. This is what we're gonna use for our tile. Whatever. Let's get a grid of them showing up, right? That sounds simple enough. So if we come back here, this stuff, basically, you see all this stuff from here. Where are we? This. That needs to happen a couple times, right? That wants to happen. We want that to happen for every tile. So, we'll just do this simple. Forget if I can use the for-in syntax here for JavaScript. I'm going to do it the old school way. Okay, so what we're doing here, very simply, is just looping over. We're creating a little a 2D loop here, so we can just go over. Oops, that's not right. Feel free to shout out syntax errors if you notice them. Don't mind at all. All right. So. Well, all I'm doing here, so again, it's interesting right now, like the grid we have, originally I was just thinking, okay, it'll just be, we just need one number, right? Because it'll be a X by X grid, X by Y grid, which will both be the same. But then I'm like, well, no, maybe we want grids of rectangular grids, right? And then I would start thinking, well, actually, wait a minute, maybe we want grids that aren't even rectangular, they're arbitrary polygon type shapes, right? I start getting way out there, right? For now, we just know I'm just going to do grid and length, so we can have, we're going to assume rectangular grids. Oh, yeah, okay, so let me explain my environment. That's actually, thank you for bringing this up, Ned. This is an excellent question and exactly the kind of stuff the exact kind of diversions I'm looking for. So the way I set this up, and this is just me, I'm working on a MacBook, you can kind of see here, this is just my standard MacBook Pro. I got it like 2013. It was like the very first Retina they made with the crappy screens that the ghosting and the burning. It's awful. But at the time, it was a pretty good machine, and it's all I got for now. So this is what we're streaming with. Now, my environment is very simply, I'm using Node, okay? Node is it's a JavaScript server. So instead of running in the browser, it takes the core of what is in Chrome. Like Google made this engine, a JavaScript engine called V8, and that's what's in the center of Chrome. They took that engine out and turned it into a server product, and then now you can run JavaScript on the server side. And this is cool. I like this. And at first I wasn't into this, and I didn't understand why. I as a Java and C++ enterprise kind of developer, worked on big Unix backend, the idea of JavaScript programming on the server side was like, oh, God, like, you know, it sounded awful. But once I got into it, and I didn't understand that the performance of V8 is incredibly good. And JavaScript these days almost compiles right down to assembly. It's just, it almost doesn't matter what language you work in and what platform you work on anymore. You can compile, you know, write once, compile anywhere is really, instead of write once, run everywhere with Java, that was a terrible idea. Write once, compile everywhere works much better, which is why now we have CMake and Node and yada yada, stuff like that. So the environment here is very simple. We have a server, we're doing HTML. This is a great way to get started. I highly recommend playing around with Node. The package management dependency, NPM, is pretty good, but not so complicated that it's like Maven or Java where you have to spend months, you know, or weeks figuring it out to get it to work really well. So you can jump right in. So let me go back over. So what I'm using for my IDE here, so to speak, is Atom, which is itself a Node application. This is all literally just a web server, locally running on my machine, serving up this whole IDE. This is just a web server, just doing standard HTML. You can actually modify and edit the IDE as the same way I'm doing the stuff I'm coding in. It's just another example of the type of app I'm already coding. It's kind of neat like that. And I highly recommend it. This is a great editor, and I love that it's free. I've been using this since I got it. It's been my favorite editor for this kind of stuff. I mean, if I was doing Objective-C, C++, I might, I'd probably go with Xcode, but for what I'm doing, this is great. JavaScript is worth learning. One thing I would note is that it has a very non-standard object model, so to speak, in that if you're used to Java or C++ or any standard object-oriented language, JavaScript is different. It's function scoped as opposed to block scoped too, which is weird. A bunch of little idiosyncrasies, but I highly recommend it. JavaScript is a great way to start getting going because you can just start hacking. It's fairly efficient, and there's just so many great dependencies, like so many modules out there. There's a lot of really easy to get set up stuff, which is why I chose this environment. That makes all sense. There's a bunch of different ways you could do this. This is just the way I chose to do it, mostly because I wanted to learn this stuff. Not so much because I'm an expert at these particular tools, but I felt like I should become an expert at them, so, right? So now what we're going to do, we're going to back to, if you have any more questions, just let me know, and if I got too far off track, let me know. So we're basically, so we got to figure out where our screen is going to be. Oh, okay. If you're used to Java and C++, no, it's not that it's so much but just keep in mind that like Java isn't like, it's not block scope, it's function scope, which is a subtle difference, right? It's a function-oriented language. Everything is basically a function. Everything is either, well, I shouldn't say that. In JavaScript, everything is either an object or a function, right? Functions are objects too, and objects are usually functions. They're a class, but there's the distinction gets a little fuzzy at times depending on how you use it. The other thing to keep in mind is it doesn't have proper inheritance. It has a prototype-based model. So a prototype is like, you create an object. It has like the new syntax, like create a new instance of something, and it just copies from a prototype. It doesn't have quite the inheritance that you would expect. You have to implement inheritance. You have to decide how you're going to manage your class model. Okay, now that's where I think TypeScript comes in really handy. It gives you that JavaScript, that object-oriented type safety that you're used to with Java or C++. So that's why I'm using it here. TypeScript is what I would recommend you. If you're used to JavaScript, if you're used to Java and C++ and you're new to JavaScript, the added compilation step is probably no big deal for you if you're used to Java and C++ and you've dealt with fairly sophisticated builds most likely. You should have no problem. I would. The build systems are a little simple. Like I'm using Gulp here. I'll show you. Actually, this is one of the problems I'm having here is the dependency issue here. It's like literally just you got to do your dependency backward. If you've used Maven for Java builds, it's kind of a very specific. It's got a bunch of different phases, and it goes boom, 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 boom to the next one. This one you got to set up complicated dependency chains by making this one depend on that one, and it's all manual. You have no real conventions to decide. You have to decide on your own conventions, which is one of the things I don't really like. In Java, I would use Maven, I would use Tomcat, I would use Spring, a lot of Spring, for example, and those all have very established ways of doing things, and you just basically do it the way they tell you to do it and never change it, right? Not at all like that. Here, everyone just kind of does whatever they want to do. And my compilation here is really just for like Sass and template stuff, mostly for the styling, because that's what my artist wants. And this is like simple integration stuff that we don't normally need. The client is technically an AngularJS, again, just because I know it integrates really well with Loopback, which is what I'm using on the server, and I wanted to learn it. Right now, I'm not even using it. All I do is just use it to present a static page, which then has the Pixie.js in it. So we're not really leveraging a lot of the stuff we have here, but we anticipate the need for it down the road. So we get it out of the way, getting it that in our build, so we don't have to think about it and integrate it later. That's why we kind of got all this crap out of the way up front, and why we're only really now kind of getting to game logic. So, oh, me. So we want to kind of create a grid in the center here. So easy enough. Let's start here. Figure out our Let's create our centroid. You know what, actually? Hey, I see we got a few more people in chat. Welcome. Let's take a look at... We're going to have to pull up some documentation, because what I want to do now, I want to find the center of the screen, right? Let's get some orientation. We're going to try to create a grid here, which means we got to figure out what's the space we're working on. I arbitrarily chose 800 by 600, but it will be also, I mean, if it's going to be deployed to mobile, it could be all over the place. For now, again, the idea is just to give a web demo. We're not really worried about targeting mobile directly right now, but ultimately it has to be, I mean, this is kind of for it to success, it'll have to probably be deployed to mobile, for commercial success, I should say. So we got to figure out how to introspectively look at let's like figure out what our canvas, you know, can show us. Let's figure out what we can figure out from Pixie.js about what we just created. And I will go to the documentation. You will have to deal with me as I do this sometime. Like I said, I'm figuring this out. The beautiful thing is we can figure this out at the same time. So how good is the JavaScript rendering API? Are you using WebGL or something similar to that? So I'm using Pixie.js, which is, it'll use, if your browser doesn't support WebGL, it'll fall back to a standard canvas-based rendering thing, and renders exactly it'll look the same way, but performance-wise, it'll be a lot lower, obviously, you know. The JavaScript, now when it comes to WebGL, keep in mind, WebGL is OpenGL. It's not, you know, it's the same API that you're used to with C++. It works the same way. Again, this is hardware underneath the, you know, it's just a JavaScript API over the same hardware and the same APIs. You still got to create your, shaders. You still got to set up your pipeline. You still got to, I mean, all of the stuff that you would normally do with OpenGL, it still has to be done, except in doing it in C and C++ calls, you'll be doing it in JavaScript, which does make it easier. I mean, I think WebGL is a little bit easier for just hacking around. That being the case, if you're used to C++, libcinder, man, check out libcinder. I'm going to pull this up. This is one of my favorite C libraries. It's cross-platform. Oh man, this is such a great library. So it's cross-platform. It's got iOS support, UI events, you know, basically it's a perfect thing, and it's under OpenGL under the hood. It's all C++. It's extremely well designed, very well thought out. It's also based on the Boost libraries, which I'm not sure if you're a C++ developer, you've heard of Boost. This is essentially the standard library now. The original standard library nobody uses ever, under any circumstances, period, the end. You never use any other implementation than, I've never heard of a C++ developer using anything other than Boost in this day and age. Boost is now the standard library. But Cinder is based on Boost, and it's just a great API. I love it. I mean, if you really want like a simple way to start working with OpenGL, start working with 3D development, I highly recommend this. This is, especially if you're not used to JavaScript, it'll translate. This has the API here. Let's see if I can give you an example. The beautiful thing is this is a cross-platform. You write this, it'll compile it. It uses CMake, so this will compile on Linux, on Windows, on Mac, all with the same code. Kind of nice. I mean, not a lot of great libraries support it that well. This does really well. Show you an example here. Super, super simple. Like, I mean, I almost want to be using this, to be honest. But you can see here, you just open up a texture. I mean, it's much simpler than, like, you know, it's tightly integrated with OpenGL, but at the same time, it's a much simpler API. Let's see here. Again, drawing shapes. This is where it becomes easy. Drawing like arbitrary line shapes in OpenGL and WebGL can be hard, right? Very hard, because you have to actually make meshes that correspond. You have to maybe work with directly. You have to come up with splines and stuff like that. Non-trivial, right? But this gives you most of the basic drawing stuff you want. The same thing, particles, very simple, right? Very well done, very, very good design. And again, there's an update, there's some callbacks you have to implement, like update draw and yada yada. But other than that, it's super simple. So I highly recommend this. Likewise, for JavaScript, Three.js, right? This is pretty much the standard. This is the same kind of thing, but for WebGL. You come here again. So all you're going to do is you basically include Three.js, and now you can create a scene, you can create a renderer. This is just like Pixie.js, keep in mind, right? Same thing. We're just creating a WebGL canvas. Where it gets different is that 3 is a full 3D API. You can actually create meshes, you can add textures, you can, you know, I think it's even got skinning and skeletons and, you know, I mean, everything you would expect, right? It's there. And it's got a pretty, I mean, this looks a lot like if you've used, you know, there's corresponding classes for just about everything, like in Blender, if you're used to using Blender. We're going to do some of this stuff too at some point. I would love to get into this stuff. For now, I'm just doing a simple 2D app for now because I'm not a game developer. I would know it. I have never published a game. I've never developed a game. I am like an enterprise Unix, you know, business developer. I do transaction processing systems for banks. I've done, you know, document management systems for large law firms and, you know, e-discovery applications. I've done some artificial intelligence searching stuff for images and finding logos and images of different sizes, shapes, and stuff, but all the same size, like, for example, or different depth, incomplete logos. So I've done some, you know, plenty of graphics programming. I know OpenGL. I know how everything works, but I don't have any experience doing an actual game. So we're going to do a small, self-contained, simple 2D game this first time because I feel like I can deliver on that, and I'm going to be here every day doing it. But ultimately, once, you know, as we go on, we're going to start experimenting with some more complicated stuff, and I would love for you guys to come back and check that out too. So we're done with our little diversion since Ned asked that question. Again, I try. I apologize if people are really like into what I'm happen to be working on, but I do try to prioritize taking questions and answering questions over actually being productive. Let's go back here. So, Three.js and Cinder, and Pixie.js for 2D. These would be the 3 libraries I would suggest playing around with first. So, where are we? Where the heck is the document resources, right? For the documentation must be. See here, this is like actually very similar to what we're doing, right? So take a look at how he does this actually. The first tile picked up, second tile, yeah, I got you. See, our state's going to be totally different, but this is where we're looping, doing the same thing. Yeah, he's doing some random things. And yeah, let's do the same thing. So let me just confirm that one of the things I want to make sure is that my UI events are still happening. Yeah, see that? So at least it knows I'm clicking on it. That's what I was looking for. Good. It doesn't do anything yet, but it knows it's clicking on it. That's what's important. Funny, I got all see my interesting bookmarks. Most of the stuff is for my kid. I have a son who's really into Minecraft, so basically whenever we're together, like 99% of the time he wants me to either install and or fix some JavaScript, you know, some Java mod for his freaking Minecraft. Drives me nuts. Okay. So what I wanted to find out, this was kind of a neat little thing to see, but what I really want is the API documentation. Try this. Google will probably know better than. Oh, here we go. All right. So what class do we have here? Let's see. What do we have to work with? Pixie Container. That's what I think we want to play around with. Let's see what we got there. Amir, is that not there? Perfect. Okay, so there is a rectangle. That's actually what I was looking for. This is great. So, right, first thing, let's just take a look and see if we can get the bounds. Right, our canvas, we want to know what's, we need to, before we can decide how we want to arrange stuff, we got to know exactly what size it is. So let's just try this. And I probably should be, I understand that I'm, for those of you who are big into debuggers, yes, you're right. I should be using a debugger for most of this stuff. I'm a print statement guy. Just the way I am. I like to, you know what I mean? I prefer to kind of just do it. What's the difference really? The difference between putting in a quick log statement and a break, to me, is kind of like, I mean, you get, there are times when only a debugger will do. So this should give us a little object with like X, Y coordinates or length, width, or whatever. We'll see what it gives us, but I assume it should give us something. Is that a function call, by the way? Did we say, is that an attribute? Yeah, it is a function call. Okay. I should know that too. I mean, these guys tend to design things with function calls rather than attributes. I mean, generally, the problem with attributes, particularly in JavaScript, is that no type safety, no runtime checking. No, you can do whatever you want in JavaScript. They don't care. You know, the runtime engine really doesn't fork on much because it'll automatically, you know, cast as it needs to. So it's really hard to, you know, it's pretty hard to get a runtime error, you know, unless you just. I mean, it's really hard to predict the runtime error you might get from looking at the code, is what I meant to say, you know, as opposed to Java and C++, where it's a little more obvious. All right, so game, I don't believe changes. Oh, I do got to build this one. One second. Let me just make sure this does what I wanted. Wait a minute. See that game.model? That's where the TypeScript generates that game model, and then I import it into the game. Excuse me. Yeah, we're logging our bounds. Okay, good. So the compile, I just want to make sure the compiler was working the way I expected. So Ned, did I satisfactorily answer your question regarding the rendering APIs and JavaScript, etc.? If so, good, and if not, just let me know. To me, or is that not displaying so? Okay. What did I do wrong there, guys? Help me out here. See, I'm looking at the wrong API of the documentation, aren't I? Let's do this. Before we get too confused, this is one of the things I run into all the time, is that I accidentally look at the documentation for the slightly wrong API. Gotta be careful about that. I am using what? Pixie.js. Oh, that'll be in Bower. So one of the things, that will take the opportunity, since Ned was curious, we'll talk about this. There's basically two, you know, whereas you would use Maven, or like more in Java, or more recently things like, geez, what was it? I found another build system I actually rather like, that was kind of based on the Groovy rather than JavaScript, which is kind of like CoffeeScript. What CoffeeScript is to JavaScript, Groovy is to Java. That makes sense. It's a syntactically nicer way to do the same thing that compiles down to the same crap. So there's two build systems we have here. One for the server side, which is NPM and Node and yada yada, and then Bower, which is meant to include JavaScript stuff that's going to get served up to your client. So under we have like the source vendor. Why is the vendor showing up? Oh, because one of the things I'm trying to figure out here is Atom, for some reason, the git ignore used to just hide. It should show that stuff, but block it out. Now it doesn't show it at all. And I don't know if that's something I installed, and we'll play around with it. We'll fix that in Atom. Back to what we were doing. Kill some of these. We were trying to figure out, that's right, we were going to go to Bower, figure out exactly what version of Pixie we are running. 3.07, all right. Just make sure we get the right stuff. What am I missing here? Oh yeah, see that's the thing, is I think it's got a different version 3, see? Okay. Yeah, is it me or is it a little weird how this documentation, like, hey, I have some work to do, I should be back relatively. Hey, go ahead, Ned. Anyways, again, feel free to stop by anytime. I really appreciate the follow, and thank you for coming by and asking questions. I appreciate it. Very much. So, Pixie Container. We found our documentation, so let's. I'm gonna bookmark this puppy because. Hey, Zordlox, how you doing, man? Good to see you again. Did you play around with that bot at all last? Did you have any more success, or were you just? I'm kind of curious. I did poke around at documentation, though. I have to say it wasn't exactly. But we can figure it out. For everyone anyone else is watching, Zordlox was here yesterday, and we were trying to help him get a bot. I'm doing great, man. Again, back here. We were just figuring out. We were just working on expanding the game logic a little bit this morning. I was hoping you'd swing by, and we will take a look at your stuff too. But if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to wait about half hour, or a little bit here, anyways, while I finish my thought, and then we'll move on to yours in a bit. And we'll pick up where we left off yesterday. So let's look at the container. There's got to be about let's see, alarm, filters, height. Scale factor of the object. So a container. See, that's interesting. A container is basically just an abstraction. It doesn't seem to be specific to a. It's like an abstract node. Oh, you figured out some important. Okay, so figured out some real. I watched like half the. Okay, and used translator and figured out some important stuff. So what I was gonna say, I was actually thinking about throwing Babelfish over. The comments, see if there was anything obvious. So what did you figure out, Zordlux? I'm very curious to hear what you figured out through the translations. Extends display object. Okay. Right now, I'm trying to see what's happening in my code here, very simply. Oh, auto detect renderer. See what that returns. Oh, very good. That's actually I'll write a reminder. Oh, he has a step-by-step program on how to do it. It's in Vietnamese, but pretty much what he did, he had 2 region selections. Okay, that's interesting because we were only that doesn't jump out at me as an obvious solution, but I'm curious as to why both of 2 different pixels of the bobber. So okay, so he created basically both of them had to be. He created 2 instead of 1, and then both of them had to be missing in order for it to be a complete bob, so to speak. And I assume they're one on top of each other, kind of thing. And did you ever figure out? We still don't know why the. Did we confirm that the mouse movements were were because of the? Oh, so he's using very small regions, right? That's smart. I get it. I'm assuming, right? That's what you're getting at. He was using very, very small regions right above or below, or like on top of and above or below the bobber. Yeah. I see. So we're not looking for the absence of a bobber. We're looking for, you know, we're using two regions and it will be in one, and then when it bobs, it'll be in another one, and when it hits that other one, that's what he's using for the trigger, right? Is that what you're saying? Where the trigger we were using yesterday was a little bit different. We were trying a different logic than that, which was simply look for a particular color on the screen. It's a little less reliable than what he's suggesting, right? And Zordlock, we got to figure out, since again, from one of my first followers, we already hit the 10 follower waymark so fast that we got to come up with something special to do for 50 followers, and we'll do the same thing at 100, 500, etc. We'll just keep doing special parties and every milestone. So, but I want my, you know, the viewers' help on figuring out what would be fun to do. All right, so. Yeah, okay, well, let me just finish, like I said, let me just figure out a few things here, and then we will, we'll do another Skype session as we did before and see if we can't make some more progress trying to do what you just suggested. I think that's a great idea, and it does seem like a more reliable way of doing than what we were, doing. So we'll try that out. This will be really interesting. And again, I want to note to everyone watching, what he's doing here is creating he's using a GUI-based application to write a little bot that'll automatically fish in a program called Trove. This is against the terms of services. I can't necessarily endorse doing this because it could get you blocked and, you know, banned from their server. I suspect, however, that if we could do one of the things I was hoping we could do is if we could get like a player-run server. I can't see why they would have any problem with us doing whatever the hell we wanted on that thing, right? So if we can get a player-based Trove server, and I don't know if this is possible, maybe Zordlocks, you know, if it is, let's set one up for ourselves, and not only will can we have a place where we can comfortably try the bot without breaking terms of services, we'll have a Trove server that we can, you know, we'll use that as an incentive and perk for followers and yada yada, right? If we can. I'd like to set up a Minecraft server for us too and stuff like that. So I will at some point. So the auto-detect renderer, it's going to return the canvas, WebGL renderer or a canvas. So we are going to get a WebGL renderer. So let's look at that. And what's the superclass? None. Interesting. So it's okay. Excellent. Oh. Yeah, we want it to auto-resize. It's a global server? Ah. Okay, well, I thought it might, you know, you never know. Yeah, there's a test server, like a test server. There is a private test server. You know, the only reason I'm okay with it right now, you know, I feel like it's okay. I feel like we should basically tell them what we're doing, honestly. But as a developer, professional developer, supports my own stuff, and you know, I've been an administrator too. For example, I've never read like anyone's email I've been responsible for. I take you know, my the ethical side of developing and administrating very serious, or else I wouldn't have a job very long. However, in the non-commercial version of the program you're using, you cannot hurt their server. Like, you can only run it every few, you know, it's actually slower than doing it manually, right? You know, while we're figuring out how to get it working. And again, I don't mind helping you do something, you know, but I cannot endorse doing something that is against the terms of services, and you do it at your own risk. That's all I say. But with that disclaimer, let's figure it out, because this is an interesting challenge, I think, you know. Now, the player tester, again, the only problem I have is firing off this bot is, like, you know, condoning running a bot against their terms of service on their own server. That's a little gray area, but I know you're assuming the risk here, and I hope that if the developers see this video, they'll just contact me, and if I'm really pissing you guys off, just let me know. Sorry about that. It looks like there's plenty of videos and other people doing this stuff. I really don't think I don't think we're doing anything terrible here, so that's why I'm happy to help. Just wanted to give that disclaimer to anyone watching. You know what I mean? Monster Cat. Yeah, I decided to put on Monster Cat. I'm sorry if everyone's kind of doesn't like EDM. I'm just, I wanted to have a little bit of background music while I was working. And this is licensed, you know, royalty-free stuff. Alrighty. Let's try, first of all, I just want to see if that auto-resize works. That's kind of a nice little feature. Hey, would you closed, by the way. So, oh, by the way, you saw that alert. One of the things I would mention to you guys is tomorrow, I'm probably not going to start I'm going to start my stream late, like afternoon, because I do have therapy. So I'm going to go, I like 11 o'clock. So I'll have to be out of here by like 10, probably be back around a little after 1. So maybe I'll do like maybe I'll do an early stream for a little bit and then come back and stream a little bit later. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I was going to say, it's one of those things that I feel like if we could just talk to the developers and be like, hey, you know, it's the reason you're doing this. I mean, it seems to me that if there's a lot of people out there making these phishing bots, they need to, you know, tweak the balance, or else, you know. Anyways, just my opinion. If people are going through the trouble of writing bots to get around some of the balance issues in your game, you should probably be listening to, probably be working on that. Kind of nice baseline. To me, or is that not resized? At least it scrolls. Anyways, I was kind of curious if that would work. So, oops. Well, what's the alternate way of getting it? I might frown on, but I can't guarantee I won't. But what's your alternate? I'm pretty flexible here. It's just I just, you know, I don't want to get in trouble with Twitch, and I don't want to break any terms of services. I mean, me personally, I don't mind. I think there's a difference between providing someone assistance, you know, information and assistance in something they're doing and doing it for them. If you asked me to write a bot for you against the terms of service of someone else, I would just say no outright, but it's more of a gray area. So what are you thinking, man? Don't be afraid to say it. I mean, it's something I'm not interested in, and I'll just say so, and there's no harm, no foul. Like, if you asked me to hack someone's password or something like that, I would just say no, absolutely not, but well, it wouldn't be a big deal. Know what I mean? Okay. Let's try this. The last guy told us ban me from the channel. Oh, okay. That sounds like it's a little, yeah. Now, I'll tell you what. When we we'll chat later. What we can do is, if you want, since we have Skype, we're on Skype together. We can talk about it offline sometime if you like. PM me, man. We'll talk about it. If it's sensitive, I'm perfectly willing to discuss it, even if I'm not necessarily willing to help her do it. But there's a fine line there. You know, like I said, if I were to build a game like Trove, I would actually build it with the assumption that scripting and botting and stuff like that will happen, and that write your own bots. Like, instead of having other people write the bots, like, why not just, you know, automate that stuff as if people want automated and provide it right in your game and hit, you know, choke the oxygen out of the hacker scene by doing it better than them. Would be my suggestion, but that's me. Either that or reevaluate your balance. If everyone's kind of trying to work around the rules of your game, then why are they playing? You know what I mean? It's like it's a fine line. But again, we can discuss whatever you like. There should be no. I believe strongly there really should be no penalty or you know, hesitation. Discussing things, doing things is a different thing. Discussing and contemplating is one thing. Doing it can be another. So you have a friend who made a phishing bot. Cool. You had mentioned this at your friend. I mean, this is when we first discussed. We met yesterday. You had said you had a friend who wrote the bot, and we took a look at his code, which was neat in that it was doing direct memory access. So we probably pulled up the application in a hex editor, and groveled over it until he found the spots. And that was a really weird way of doing it, but like you say, it might have worked. Oh, ridiculous amount of money? Yeah. That is definitely, like you say, that's a bridge too far. Commercially profiting off of a component that is specifically to break the terms and services of another developer's application. Yeah, I can see why people would ban you for that. You know, if you were I'd say as long as you don't advertise it, please don't advertise it or put a link to that in my chat. I will have to get rid of that because I can't really, like you say, a commercial application to, you know. But I mean, if you look at something like World of Warcraft had like the combo scripting, right? Like if you didn't have that in the game, people would do it outside the game. So why, you know, you got to have some of that stuff. You got to give them an outlet to do it. Yeah, again, like I said, that's a little bit more. I'm a little uncomfortable about commercial software specifically to break the terms of services of someone else's. Just, I can't condone that or advertise that. But again, to each their own, and I'm not going to tell someone to do what they should or shouldn't do. You know. I mean, again, I personally don't pirate games. I personally don't, you know, I don't pirate music. I pay for my stuff or do without it. It's just me. But you know. I was when I was a younger man, and I used to my feelings on things were a lot different. So, you know, I've kind of grown into my position after just years and years of being a developer and working professionally and supporting and selling code. I'm highly sympathetic. At the same time, I'm sympathetic to both sides. You know, I feel like your business model and your application should account for the fact that people are going to try to pirate it and that people are going to try to bot it and automate it, and so why not anticipate that? And you know what I mean? It's just the way I see it, you know. I think that could be a really great part of the game. Like we'll talk about this more because I do have a grand vision for this really long-term big thing that this small little puzzle game will eventually feed into that I think everyone will find really exciting. And it's really it's a cool idea, and both my other designer and my artist have kind of gotten really hype about it. It's kind of what got them interested in this. The puzzle game in and of itself is kind of a means to the end that we'll discuss about the end after we kind of get more on the puzzle game. So more to come, right? But it actually touches on a lot of these subjects because again, I want it to be scriptable. I want a game where you can interface by SMS, text, send emails, interface directly with the UI in a 3D interface or a 2D interface on mobile, but all in the same back-end game, all happening in this persistent world, you know, where you can create agents and bots that will play the game on behalf of you according to rules that you tell it to do, stuff like that. I mean, like, just make the whole game automated. So the game is about configuring your automation setup more than playing the game, right? It's a little weird, but it's fun for people like me, I think. There's a market for it, is I guess what I'm saying. I suspect. I could be wrong, and we'll find out. To give you a little hint of what I'm thinking of. Okay, back to the same here. So let me just, let's just make sure we're printing out. We got our stuff. These are interesting diversions. Oops. This is what I mean by a little manual and awkward. Like, really, this should be one. This should be a watch and should happen automatically, right, in the background. Right. With Slick. Hey, look at that. Wait a minute, why am I getting that rectangle now? Why was that not working before and now working? Does anyone see that? That was kind of weird, right? That's not my code anymore. And I saved it and I compiled it. A lot about ASCII editors? Not really. Like, what do you mean about an ASCII? You mean like a hex editor or an ASCII editor? I mean, what do we? Because, like, for example, this is called. Oh, wait a minute. So I can't just. What happened? So this is, for example, this is called Synalyze It, and this is like a hex editor, a hex viewer. Let's see. Let's like open up some binary or something here. Oh, I got it. Let's open up the Feynman lectures here. This is a PDF. See what it looks like binary. Right. So this is what I'm saying. Like what he probably did to get to those. This is what I was talking about. To get at those values, those hex values, those direct memory values. This is like, see here, those are those offsets. So what he did is he searched for something. He paused the game and then put the whole process out to a big file, which would have been like probably a couple gig binary file of crap. And then he searched for what he was looking for in here. And you can see here, he probably looked over here for symbols that were indicate what he's looking for, and then kind of, you know. So if this is what you're talking about, this is like this is a hex editor, and these can be really useful for cracking and hacking and stuff like that, for figuring out how to reverse engineer. This is just a PDF. You can see here a binary, like, which is, you know, kind of a combination of a bunch of text and binary. This is a really big PDF too. This is the Feynman lectures, which are available online for free too, by the way. If you're into physics, the Feynman lectures are probably the best ones I've found to read so far. As a layman, I'm not a physicist, but Feynman lectures are pretty awesome. I'm a very much a geek, as you can see here. I don't like my Hell's Angles Math Club shirt. Oh yeah, hype. Now ASCII editor. I mean, a text editors. I use a. Oh hey, what's that? Yeah, I don't use Sublime Text anymore. A lot of people do. I'm not a big fan of. I just think Atom's way better than Sublime Text myself. So that's interesting. Let me go back. This is what actually the original. So what I had, my original code is what I wanted, because I actually like the idea of getting. Wait a second. I like the bounds as a rectangle. That's a. Wait a minute. That's interesting. How is that background color working? Right? That's not a. It must be just. No, it's a string. Shouldn't that be like that or whatever? Right? Missing something? Surprised that actually works at all. Oh no, because JavaScript does. It notices the OX. It knows that it's a hex number automatically. It can parse hex numbers directly in JavaScript, can it? Generate an authentication to a program. It depends entirely on the program and the authentication method, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it depends. In general, I mean, here's the thing. It's not illegal to do it on your own machine in your own lab on a machine that you control it. I mean, if you're running a program on your machine in your lab, you can do whatever the hell you want. I mean, that's the only reason I really don't condone. I mean, when I was a kid, you have to understand, like when I was like, say 12, and I was really like getting into programming as a, you know, really getting into it, and I'd been doing it for a couple of years and starting to get some capability. There was no internet, right? It was all BBSs, and the only way to connect to BBSs in foreign countries was to pay astronomical, long distance charges, and that was it. I mean, that's what you had, and you were using like a 1200 baud modem to do it. So it was really common for kids my age around then to take advantage of poorly configured corporate phone systems to perhaps not pay for long distance. I'm not going to say, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff happened all the time. But back then, you have to understand, again, to have a machine where you could actually code, actually get some real programming done, these were institutional systems you had to get access to. So you had to get access to a laboratory in a corporate environment or a university, and for the most part that wasn't too hard. But now it's like, you know, you can buy a machine. Hey Ned, what's going on? Welcome back. But right now, you know, you can set up a virtual machine. You can go on to Amazon, and for like literally pennies, you know, you can set up an environment and test whatever the hell you want and hack whatever you want. You know, so there's no longer the need to compromise other people's systems simply to work like it was, you know, 25 years ago. Right now, you can just, it's so cheap, it's dirt cheap. You know, really no excuse in breaking into other people's system when you can just copy their system and break into it on your own hardware, right? If you're into that security stuff, and that generally everyone I know is into computer security, that's how they work. They copy the target environment into their local lab, compromise it there, prove it works, and then publish, right? You don't actually attack someone else's system because there's really no good reason to do that. But that's my take on it, right? You know, as someone who's been around doing this for a long time. Rarely have the need to compromise authentication because either I'm a fully licensed administrator. I have sudo access or I don't. If I don't have sudo, I don't want it because I don't want plausible deniability. So when something breaks, I can guarantee you it wasn't freaking me. If I have root on that machine, it could have been me, and there's no way they can prove it wasn't me, right? So I don't want root on machines. Exactly. When I worked professionally as administrators, I would be very adamant. Don't give me root on machines. I don't need it because I don't want to have to. I don't want there to be any possibility that I could be someone who did something wrong. Yeah, I would not run authentication code. Here's the thing. I would tell you, I would be very, very, very wary of anything that comes from the internet that says this is to break someone else's authentication. It's almost, if they can break someone else's authentication, guess what? You're running on your machine. Bad idea. You know what I'm saying? Either he knows what he's doing, in which case it's dangerous to run what he's doing, or he doesn't know what he's doing, in which case it's not going to work and it's dangerous to run it. You know what I mean? See what I'm saying? It might be fine, it might not, but I would not trust anything that was built specifically like that. Again, anything, really, just about anything that can be run, can be compromised. So, you gotta be careful. That's all I would suggest. Generally, 9 times out of 10, in my experience, there's very few reasons. The only reason you really need to break authentication is, you forgot your password to something super important, you're encrypted maybe, right? And in which case, if you did it right, you're screwed. But, it's 9 times out of 10, it's generally cheaper, easier, and simpler to just, work your way into the access you need rather than to compromise your way into the access you need. Usually just asking or learning the skills needed to get access is, easier than actually cracking. The question of risk-reward and resources, how much you're going to spend versus how much you get back, right? But maybe, that's actually an interesting thing. We can play with some of this stuff. We can set up a lab and play around with some of this stuff. Like, I don't know if you've ever, like Nmap and, some of these security tools. I keep up on this stuff. I read on it because I find it interesting, and I've been reading Frac forever, for example, and I understand how, integer overflow and buffer overflows, and, I know the basics of how the various attacks works, and I am not an assembly programmer, but I can follow along. I understand how assembly works, and I can follow code if I need to, but oh yeah, no. See, here's the thing: is right. You're right. Like you can brute force it. There's basically a few different ways. If you're in principle, you're cracking something. It's the same kind of problem every time, which is it's like a satisfiability, or you're doing you're a binary satisfiability problem is what it's called. It's like if you look in the literature, they'll call it. And you can brute force it, right? So this is generally the way they do it. You use a dictionary attack, right? Is one way to do it. So you got a password you want to crack, and you know how it's encoded. You don't know how it's unencoded. You know how to take a password, and you know the algorithm it gets. If you take a password and you know how it gets turned into a hash, right? And a hash is just a unrecognizable. You know how the password is turned into an unrecognizable format, right? Then you can take a huge number, a dictionary of potential passwords, turn them into that hash, and then compare the hash with the actual one you're trying to crack. And if it matches, you got the password. That's brute force, right? That's how they do that. However, 9 times out of 10, you can reduce the search space. So now if you just do brute force, you literally have to search every potential possible password, right? And if you do every company, it's like an exclamation point, right? It's like an exclamation point. It's not just exponential. It goes up. The longer the password, every single extra bit just adds an exponentially to the search space. So what you generally do is you look for something that's broken in the implementation of that hash that will say, aha, it's not entirely random. I can rule out half the search space because I know that it's not entirely random. And that's how this stuff works. There's a lot of math involved. It's non-trivial. It's a huge area of active research, obviously. However, if you can scan software, find issues, and then write exploits for them, there's real money in that too. I guess supposedly it's not illegal depending on how you do it. I've never really been into that scene. Again, I've always been protecting against those guys rather than trying to compromise. So I do have to know security rather well. I mean, especially when you work at banks, law firms. I mean, there is very, very strict security requirements at these places, and you know, you have to be aware, especially as a developer, because you know, you don't want to be the guy that compromised a huge multi-billion-dollar case with your code. It's the last thing you want, right? Or your code screws up with, like, say, a $10 billion transaction. Not a good place to be, man. Again, you know, it's tough for me to say, you know, that we generate another code, it would be, I mean, again, like I said, that the brute force is the way to do it. And that's actually, if it's not that, I mean, all of the dictionary tools out there are basically usually set up for an operating system, in that, like, Windows has a specific, you know, it has an authentication token passing around mechanism, and the details of this are no longer in my head. I remember a long time ago, like back how it worked in NT 3.1 back in the 90s. But it's basically still the same, I believe. Their security infrastructure. It's based on Kerberos. Like in Big, they use Kerberos in most institutional places I've been at, whether it's Linux or whatever. These are all non-trivial. If they're properly configured and using correct password links, these are really, really hard to compromise. The thing is 90% of the hacks out there that, like, you hear about are just because someone screwed up. They forgot something. They were doing the right thing. They just did it the wrong way, forgot one little thing, and someone else noticed it. That's how it gets, you know, that's how most of this stuff happens. Very rarely do people actually go out and brute force, like, a bunch of passwords. That's very, very rare, because it's usually not necessary. And if you are doing that, you need a fair amount of hardware to actually do it on any modern, you know. Someone's has, like, a, you know, say a 16-character password, you don't have enough freaking time on Earth to do it. You know, there's not enough time in the heat death of the universe will happen first, so. And besides, again, 9 times out of 10, the best way to get a password is to just take someone, go, you know, wait till they're on their way to work, come up in the van, throw them into the van, and beat them senseless with a pipe until they give you the password. That works 100 times better than hacking. I mean, that's the way to do it, if you're really that serious. No, again, I can't. I don't endorse breaking any sort of authentication method. It's one thing to do a bot to automate some stuff that you're already doing in a GUI. It's another totally different thing to break authentication. I can't condone that, won't do that, but sorry. But both because could potentially land all of us in prison. I mean, keep in mind, you know, Kevin Mitnick was driven to suicide for exactly what you're doing in Trove. That if you were important and people listened to you, you would be destroyed for doing it. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Dangerous. Be smart sometimes. So, okay. Let me go back here. We're right here. Yeah, again, I can't, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I can't condone it, don't encourage it, because you're going to get your ass arrested. It's so hard to do. I mean, once you understand all the implications and how hard it is to really, it's so easy to make one simple mistake. I mean, and we could discuss all sorts of ways to do all sorts of stuff, but it's just so easy to make one simple mistake. Oh, Zordlux just had some general purpose questions about, you know, hacking authentication and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of giving more my opinions in that regard. You know what I mean? Again, you're going to get yourself arrested. If you really mess around, it's very easy to get arrested. I've been fortunate. I know kids who have been arrested back in the day or you know, got not so much arrested, but picked up by the police, got, you know, got scared straight, so to speak, back in the day for I mean, I think it was over, say, $5,000 in long distance charges, which again in the late 80s is a lot. That's probably 3 or 4 times as much money today. But yeah, again, I'd be very careful. Again, this is 9 times out of 10, the best way to get someone's password is to just beat them senseless. I mean, it's so much more efficient, easier. You just put a mask on and beat them until they give you your password. That will be so much faster, easier. It's called the lead pipe, cracking method. It works better, more reliably, and that's what 9 times out of 10, if someone wants your password, that's how it's going to happen. Yeah, hey, no problems. I'd like go grab something to eat. What time we got? 11:30. Not being very productive this morning, but that's okay. I'm here to chat too. So. Okay. So we got our nice bounds, and that's cool. So now we can use that as our basis for... Oh, wait. It's not right, though. Look at the... Got a 0 height, 0 width. So I'm not using the API. So I was wrong. I do have to go back and do it. That's not what I need. Hey, what are you doing? Here, we'll just do this. So this should give us like XY coordinates now if we do this. You see what I'm doing here? Actually, by the way, this is, in case you're curious, this is a formatted string. This is like a little weird here. I'm doing this string when this S and S just means I can do, that's means whatever variable is here, put it there, and then the next one, whatever variable is here, and you can just do a list, a never-ending list if you want. So I do a lot of nice formatted print statements in my debugging. I know it sounds, I know, Ned, I mean, it sounds brutal, but it's true. I mean, that is really the best way to get someone's password. I mean, you can spend all this time and money cracking someone's machine, but, you know, you usually don't even have to hit them, probably. You can just threaten them, and they'll probably give you your password. Most people don't want to get beat up over, you know, their wedding photos. Most people don't have anything worth taking, too, is the other thing. I mean, and again, credit card information, it's just identities and credit card information is so cheap now. I mean, you got to do millions, you got to crack millions of people to get any money out of it. It's really not worth it, you know, especially considering the risk. And once you can do it, and you know you can do it, the other thing is the feds are going to see you like, you know, a nuclear scientist, someone that needs to be monitored as a threat and could really do some damage. You don't want to be seen as someone who could do some damage by the powers that be. Bad scene. I mean, think about it. There are kids out there that could probably end Western civilization. They're in the right place in the right time. They could put a worm out there that could, you know, basically destroy Western civilization. You know, the entire economy if they wanted to. I've certainly worked at places I realized in hindsight that if I wanted to do some damage, I could have done irreparable damage to huge companies by simply just, you know, putting a worm in and forgetting about it for 6 months. You know, it's at the McGregor Group, I had access to literally like every major trading system on the freaking Wall Street. I had literally a big wall of like fobs to get into every single, well, like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, everyone. I mean, everyone. I didn't even know what I had. I mean, at the time, I knew nothing about software. I mean, knew nothing about rather the stock market or anything like that. I just managed the trades and made sure that the trades were going smoothly. It was all hacked together in Perl too. It's funny. All of these billions of dollars trades all handled in Perl scripts. Kind of funny. See, 0-0. So the thing has no freaking. Okay. Ah, I know why. We've got the wrong type here. It's a pixie container. What I really want. The container, and you know why that wasn't working? Because the container is an abstract object. It's only, the purpose of the container is only to create a parent node that can hold children, so that you can say you want to move a table. Like say you have a, let's put like an example in 3D. Say you have a vase on a table, and when you move the table, normally the vase would just stay there. Right now it's floating in space. But if you make the vase a child of the table, and you translate the table, the vase moves with it, right? That's the whole purpose of containers, period, pretty much. So it makes sense that it has a 0-0 size, because it actually isn't it doesn't have any real representation until you put something in it. Then it will have a bounds, right? So let's just see. I was actually looking at an empty, very simply an empty container that had nothing in it. I bet you once we put some stuff in it, it did, but let's see what we got. This is the way I learn APIs, I should note, is I literally just like, I like to bound, like the way I learn languages and compilers and APIs is just kind of line by line poking around with it and looking at what I actually get. I don't tend to trust documentation very much. I prefer to see what I actually get in the environment, the runtime. which can be a little tedious, I agree. I apologize for that, but... My grid is working, it's their stuff that's not working. The wubs. The wubs are strong right now. Alright. Let's do this. Back up a bit. Okay. This item, the container... Gotta figure out how all this stuff relates to each other. Now, I put an O here. What that means is formatted as an object. It just means that when I put renderer, it's going to show up as a nice little JavaScript object in my console rather than as just a string. Nice little trick. Oops. Wait a minute. What did I... Oh, screw it. Alright. Thought my keyboard was messing up. Yeah. Exactly, yeah. You know, that's the other thing. One of the things Ned, one of the tasks I have actually in my issue thing is to set up C tags. I don't know if anyone's familiar with C tags, but it was originally like a way for like code completion inside Vim. Like if you ever played used VI, you might be an Emacs person. Basically, if you're a Unix guy, there's this whole debate whether Emacs versus V. Those are the two general editors you'll have on the command line. I learned VI mostly because I started as an administrator more than a developer, and VI is available on every Unix system no matter where you are. And Emacs is kind of, you never know what you're going to have and what's set up, but VI works the same freaking way no matter where you are. So I actually know VI really well. I can kind of just do it in my sleep. But that's what CTags was for. So CTags is, I can install a package for CTag support. Hey, what's up, Zordlock? Welcome back. We were kind of just talking about CTags, code completion. Right now, actually, the TypeScript works really well because it's got this module that does the code completion. But the thing about CTags is you can tell specifically what APIs you want to code complete. So you can exclude the stuff you don't want, include the stuff you do want. You put it in it generates this file that you put in the root of your project, and then it gives you all this code completion. And like you say, documentation right in your IDE. It's rather nice. So we're going to set that up at some point. For now, I'm just kind of, like you say, poking around and seeing what the IDE, what the environment gives me. Here we go, WebGL renderer, 806. Okay, good. It's weird. Okay. Is it me, or am I not getting what, right, the first time I compile and restart, am I not getting what I just compiled? Like, there's got to be some, I think the browser is, like, caching. Because, like, this is what I expected to see last time, right? But it was 0-0. Excellent. Anyways, so let's get our centroid. We got what we want. That's the important thing. So keep in mind, these has nothing to do with coordinates. Grid width and length is like the number of items in it, not how many, not exactly how it's going to be on the screen. Significant difference, right? It is also XY indexed, just like the screen is. However, like if I were doing this in Java, the way I would enforce type safety is I would say that the grid has an index using specifically an integer, right? It has to be an integer because it doesn't make sense to put a floating point thing in our grid, right? Because what's 0 point, you know, the tile at 0.1 and 1.2? It's either 0 or 1, right? But when it comes to the screen, you need floating point because we have, you know, it's continuous and vectors and yada yada. But with JavaScript, there's only one type of number, floating point, period. There is no such concept as an integer in JavaScript, which is kind of unfortunate in my mind. But so now that we know our size of our space here, let's say I'm going to create a centroid. Let's see, we want to create a pixie rectangle. No, I don't. Does it have a point class or something like that? Yeah, they do. Reminds me of Ninja Tune stuff back when I lived in San Francisco. Well, down tempo. Back in the 90s. I'm trying to think of Mark Farina. Kind of reminds me of Mark Farina. I was just reminiscing. It's funny. Everyone was reminiscing about Rocky Point. If anyone's close, like in the air, I know Zordlock's in the air, so he's probably heard of Rocky Point, which was this old amusement point they had at here in Rhode Island, over in Warwick. They got rid of it many years ago. But when I was a kid, it was like that's where you went. And as a teenager, we managed to throw a party there. We managed to talk these guys into letting us throw like a huge rave, and I mean huge, like with like dozens and dozens of DJs. Went over 2 days, 2 nights. And they kept the amusement park open the entire time, kept the rides going the entire time, all night, day and night, for 2 days, and had a huge camping. It was called Camp Earth. It was like no one will ever do this ever. No one. It was like Burning Man, but it was like in Rhode Island. You'll never be able to do that again. It was awesome though. Harp84, thank you for coming on in. How's it going, man? Or gal, welcome, sir or madam. So this is our centroid, right? If we just divide the width and height by 2, that'll give us where our center point is, and that will give us our way to figure out where our grid, how we're going to do our grid. Get rid of this. We don't care about you anymore because we know you do what we want. And what do we got? We want one along this. Dude, I really do got to set up a watch for this. Oh, hey, look at this. It's Dad. I didn't even say when you said you popped in. When you said popped us in, I was misunderstood. Everyone, welcome. This is actually my dad. Harp84 is actually my father. He dropped in to say hi. So welcome. Say hi, everyone. Dad, what we're doing right now is I'm just kind of working on. We're expanding the logic of the game here. We're kind of figuring out the Pixie is the rendering system we're using. And so it's a simple little 2D rendering system. It uses OpenGL under the hood, but it has a relatively simple sprite API. So a sprite, for those who may not know, is the term we use in game development to cover an animated something on the screen. Anything that's generally positional, it's got things, it moves, and it might have it might be animated. We call that a sprite. It's the base container for just about anything you display on screen. So we've got a sprite displaying, and we've got it responding to our UI and printing out the fact that you're clicking on it, etc. But now we're going to just actually create the grid for our puzzle game here. In the meantime, today, as I said, I was talking about this last night. Today is also Tech Support Tuesday, so I field questions, and we're opening up. I'm fielding tech questions, and we're working on. Zordlox has a little bot he's working on, and we will pick up on that in a bit too. So we're gonna have a little diversion in a bit here, and we'll set up a Skype call and see if we can't figure out what he's been working. He got a good lead, and hopefully actually Klusin will show up too, because Klusin is another viewer we've had who was very helpful. He had a lot of great ideas and a lot of really a lot of acumen yesterday, I thought. So it'd be good if he could show up too. Hopefully, he's been here like every day, so he's certainly under no obligation to show up, but hopefully we'll see him. Very helpful, nice guy. So right now, but I'm just trying to figure out. I don't want to hard code any of my stuff, right? I don't want to hard code any of this. So I'm just basically figuring out how to introspectively figure out what dimensions I have. So right now, I know that I have. I'm explicitly hitting it on 800 by 600. I don't even need to do that because that's the default. But I also don't want to hard code like 400 and 300 as my centroid. So where were we? Oops. Hey, we broke something. Oh, dear. Right? See what I did wrong there? Neither of those were in scope because I hadn't actually declared. Like if I declared those as bars, it would work but be broken. But I mean, it would not complain, but it wouldn't work. Aha! Look at that. That's just what we want, and that's right there. Bing, 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 bing. Jeez, Monster Cat. Happy hardcore, kind of. Alright, excellent. So the point class is simply a very, very, very simple thing here. Alright. So how big are our tiles? Right? We don't even know, like, how do we gotta come up with some, we gotta figure out how we want to size our tiles. Those I think we do want to be square. Or our tile sprites. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll create like a grid sprite, tile sprite. That's what we want to do. Like classes. And fact. So right. So what we need to do here is now we have our total width and height. We know like what we need. So we know we can't go any more than 600 up and 800 wide. But we actually probably want a square grid in the middle. We know where the centroid is, so we know where to start and how far we have. So we want to scale everything, right? What we want to do is create an area, a square area that fits inside the rendering size. So that means that we have to do a little math, right? We got to figure out in simple math what size should our tile be. Well, we have 800. We have 600. This is actually kind of easy. We can just do the math in our head from this particular circumstance. But if we have 600 pixels up and we got 6 tiles, we have a total of 100 pixels to work with, right? So if we call them 80 pixels, then or 90 pixels, we would have a 20 pixel gap between them. And this is a good question. Do we want them? You know, I don't really know yet. Do we want them all right smack up against each other? Do we want a little, you know, the equivalent of what the CSS box has, the the padding? I think we want to be able to support both. So let me create a. Oops. I'm gonna call that game render. Okay, so a module is just a namespace. It gets translated literally just to a JavaScript object, and like a singleton simple JavaScript object to hold something. I'm kind of creating. What I'm going to do here is create some sprite classes that. No. We don't want to do that. We don't need to. Let's just use a Pixie.js. Wait, this is we're adding a complication we don't need. For now. Oops. What? Go away. I don't care about Java right now. Okay. So when I create a sprite, I will set up the anchor, the position, yeah. Let's try this. Let's do this. All right. I suspect we're gonna have to. The other thing I would note is that it's probably not good for me to have all these magic. Like, what we really don't want to do is we want to kind of set up a system that will handle this. We don't want all these magic variables in here. We'll clean that up later. All right, so if we have these tile sprites, I got an idea. First of all, let's start and see what we can figure out about the sprite. Like, what's the default? When we just create this agave, like, let's see what we actually have to start working with. Like, what is that thing? What is its dimensions? So if we look at sprite, here we go. This is one of the key classes. We probably have a ton of methods. Filters, height, mask, yep, height and width, same thing. Renderable, shader, oh, you can give a specific shader, texture. So does everyone, if anyone has any questions about what any of these terms mean, by the way, just give a shout on chat and I will explain. There's some of the, but in general, game development, I've noticed, they use their own lingo for stuff that's, you know, called other, like, you know, the fact that something is a texture, that just means image, that's it. It's just, I don't know why they, you know, it's so important that they call it a texture, but they do. And when they say texture, all they mean is image. You know, so it's a lot of stuff like that is all I'm saying. So if something doesn't make quite sense, just let me know and I'll define it. Usually it's really simple. So same thing. Let's take a look at what our dimensions of our sprite are. I wonder if we can do the okay. Centroid's correct, right? Can we verify that? Oops. Oh, that's the other cool thing. I didn't even show you this, but the strong loop has this explorer. You can actually, the server actually has APIs right now. Like, I can do authentication and set up users and all of this stuff. You get all that for free. It's a beautiful thing about Loopback. That's why I set it up in the beginning. Ultimately, we will need this stuff. Not now, though. But if you see, you go to Explorer, it actually shows you the whole API that it's pushing, as well as the page it's serving. Yeah, 304, and that point is correct. The dimensions are right. So now, where were we? And we're just printing out, get rid of that centro, we don't care about you anymore. You know you're doing the right thing. But let's actually print out the sprite, see what we got. This is actually, let's just do this. Now. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Well, material, that's what's interesting. Is like when you bind a texture to a mesh, which Ned's bringing up, Ned's absolutely correct, right? Some of this terminology just kind of got grandfathered in, but they call it, OpenGL always called it texture, same thing, DirectX, they always call these things textures. Again, they're always just images. Now, when you bind a texture to a material and give it like specific properties, that then is generally called a material, right? So a material can be simply a texture, period. In which case, there's nothing more going on. Or it can be a shader. I mean, you know, which means that instead of a static texture, there's a program that runs and generates the pixels every time you need them, you know, in parallel. It can also take a texture and then, for example, simply add specular highlights and lighting models and all of that stuff. I mean, it's a complicated subject, and we'll get into that. But yeah, you know, I'm just saying, if any of the terminology doesn't quite, if you're not quite 100% on it, just let me know so I can define it. Otherwise, it can be kind of hard to figure out what we're talking about. Luckily, we don't have to really deal with any of that stuff with Pixie. That's the beautiful thing about something like this, is it just makes it really easy to kind of not worry about all that. When we want to do special effects and we want to do some other stuff, we will have to start working on that stuff. But for now, no biggie. I mean, I think, you know, the distinction between a texture is, again, that it's loaded, you know, a texture is an image that is loaded into the graphics subsystem, which is another computer with its own compiler, right? I mean, that's the thing to keep in mind about OpenGL. You're literally writing a program that tells another computer to compile stuff on itself that you're providing it. It's a convoluted system, right? If you've ever understand how shaders work, it's a little weird. Because it's this legacy hardware pipeline that has to be supported. And now you can configure the pipeline to be arbitrary, and they have, you know, geometry shaders and all this great stuff you can do now, but in OpenGL 4 and beyond. But I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah. All right, here's our sprite. So what do we get in a sprite? all sorts of stuff, right? I was expecting this to be a very big class. This is all the private stuff we don't really care about, right? You can see that it does have alpha, blend mode, children. See, this is, again, it could contain other sprites. Sprites can contain other sprites in that hierarchical relationship, so they allow you to... A sprite is just a container, too. I think it's and our scale. So, first of all, if we create a grid sprite, we want to create a grid container sprite. It doesn't necessarily render anything yet, but we want to make the tiles a child of the grid simply because we want to be able to move all the tiles at once. Like if we want to move the whole grid left or right or up or down, we need to do some parenting, right? Because otherwise we'd have to individually go through all of those tiles and move each one by the same amount. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So you want to create even though there's nothing to render, you want to create a container for the grid right now. All right. So that's something we can do. In fact, scene is basically the grid. In fact, that's what it does. Did add child? Yeah. Oh, see, it is giving me some completing. You know, it's interesting.
Let's play pinball.
And let's do this now. So we've added a container to our scene, just an abstract container, and now we're going to add. We will do grid. Same thing. See, this is where in C++ you get also, this is where you'd have to use smart pointers because we're returning at something we created new, and then we're about to go out of scope. This is where boost comes in handy. We were talking about the boost library before. Smart pointers. Makes this much easier in C++. Highly recommend it. Otherwise, you gotta, you know, release this later. You gotta keep this stuff around to release later, and you know, we won't get into memory management. That's right now. That's a kind of a advanced topic. So, let's look at it here. So if we log our grid, we should see the whole hierarchy. We should be able to navigate the whole hierarchy right in the debugger, right? As long as we use this O filter. That's what gives that to us, by the way, again, like we said before. I'm gonna go grid. I know what scene looks like, so it's just an empty container. See what we know it contains grid. See, the parent, can we give these an ID or something? Is there like some way to name these things? Right? That would make this a little easier, wouldn't you think? Oh, here we go. Okay, so the parent thing is working fine. We can see here. And this is us. It's like a recursive loop there, so we don't need to go. Alright, let's look at our API then. Hey, wait a minute, why did that, by the way? Oh, okay, so there is no add child here. The container, wait a minute. The mirrors are display objects. Okay. See, this is, we got to go back up the type hierarchy sometimes to find out exactly where it gets, where it inherits. Same thing, huh? Oh, you can set parent too. try that. Gotta add child, right? Let's try this. This actually might be a little better. Because really, to maintain the relationship, all you really need is to keep like a parent ID. Like you don't need to keep track. Like think about it. If you're creating a hierarchy like a file system, technically you don't need, what you don't necessarily need is to say this container and then a list of the things that are in it, right? Because each of those things could just have one reference to the parent. So it's generally more efficient to just to only keep the parent information around and then reverse and figure out what the children are by just doing a query and saying show me all the ones with the same parent, that ID that exists, right? So maybe there's a difference between the way we're doing this, even though it looks like it's supported. Oh, whoa, tile, bright. Hey. Sometimes it feels like I gotta build a couple times before it actually takes. I'm not sure why that is. Just in case. So Node is the server. Again, if anyone's not familiar, Node is just the server. It's a little JavaScript V8 engine is using a pre-configured Express engine, and it's just serving static pages, our Angular stuff right now. It's our test server. Aha, broken. We broke it. Good. How do we break it? See, grid set parent is not a function. Okay, good. But that's weird because they seem to all... Hey, no problem, Dad. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Don't forget to consider following. All follows. Follows are free and they all help. We're trying to get our next milestone is 50 follows. So we're gonna do something special for that. Thanks again to my dad for stopping in and saying hi. He's down in, we're not in the same area, so it's nice to be able to catch up like that. So grid is really, that is not, and it's just a container, right? We said Pixie container.
Spread your wings to the night. Observe as flames fill the sky. It's just your frame of mind.
It is, okay, so add.
Strike the match. Ignite your life.
So that should work.
Spread your wings in the night. Anticipate lonely roads. Expand your frame of mind. Don't ever lose your soul. Fire the harmony, dissonance within your voice. When you smile, you burn down absent walls.
Let's just try. It's like a unit test almost, right?
I really need. Don't fear the darkness. It's your light that shines so brightly.
Can't hold you back from destiny.
So we added the child, and we had nothing there. So this, the child at 0 should be seen, right? Really what we want to do here, this is actually a great unit test. What we want to do is say assert, assert that the scene get child at 0 is equivalent to grid. We're just going to inspect it manually by eye now, but we will want to set up a unit test to do all this stuff. My dad actually, it's funny, my dad, me and my dad, when he was actually about my age, who I am now, he kind of went through the same thing as me, where he had, his career change, relatively, a career change foisted upon him. And he got into IT and has been doing support in, IT administration and support and all that. So we kind of ended up in the same field to a certain degree, although I ended up more doing development than administration. But so he's actually an extremely knowledgeable administrator. He's worked on some very, very large environments and extremely high-profile stuff. So he's a smart guy and good guy to know. Not just my dad.
Take us up above the clouds. Shelter me under your wing.
That's why I'm glad he's actually coming around. He's very, very smart. He knows a lot. He's very good about you know, managing processes and making sure stuff happens the way it's supposed to happen, which I'm terrible at. I'm more of an idea and hackery kind of guy, you know what I mean? Okay, very good. It's interesting, the types, like, you know what I mean? Like, like Pixie has to kind of come up with their own type system. So it's kind of interesting to see what stuff gets, you know, what the duck typing system is saying this thing is, because there's a lot of equivalence, right? But it looks like it's basically using kind of some form of duck typing, which duck typing, if you're not familiar, is like if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So duck typing is not so much, is it of this class? Is it this type of class, which is how, like, for example, Java and C++ do their type checking. They actually see, is it an instance of this class? That doesn't matter in duck typing. It's, does it fulfill does it actually have the signature I need? It's like, so is there a function that takes a string and returns an integer? Good, then we're done. That's all I need to know, because that's all it really matters in terms of compatibility, right? So you really are kind of forced into duck typing with JavaScript, because that's all that's all they have, you know what I mean? They do have some, you can say, instance of is like the equivalent of the non-duck typing, but even that can be a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Unreliable. All right, so we don't care about the grid. Where's all our console logs? Get rid of you. Yeah, and that's the sprite. So this should be grid. Let me just check to see something. If there's a container, can we give this some sort of identifier? I could always just give it a property, you know, override the object with a property.
Look back upon the night. It's always dark before the dawn. So simple, now you see. Strike the match to set you free.
Children to local. Oh, so these are nice to know. These local positions, we'll use those when we set up our grid. We will need those. All right, what do we got? Noon. It's noon here on the East Coast. So it is a container, and it has no children, which is what we expect. Very good. At least it's coming back and it's giving us the proper type that we created. So now, when we see this, we're gonna log the grid. This worked. We know that works. So now let's take a look at it after we add all the children. Make sure that's happening properly. And that's not correct. We're gonna get rid of that. And we probably don't even need a var. I mean, we could always just, like, you know, we could simplify this a bit, but I think it's generally good when you're using an instance to always instance to a var and then use it, because I suspect it might not make a difference. And this is actually a good thing. If we have a JavaScript expert who comes here, if there's a difference rather, and specifically what the difference is, I feel like I remember running into an issue though on that. So I tend to do this just because it's a superstition, I guess, on my part. I think I just might have had that thing where I was caching a little bit and wasn't doing what I expected. See here? Something's not working. Children are not getting added. Am I missing? Is it like a syntax thing? What did I do wrong here? Because this works. Scene, these are, look, right? These are two are the exact same type. And we add child to grid. Oh, pixie sprite, that's why. No. Again, that should work because these are still from the same base class where that's defined, right? Pixie sprite and container, ultimately, or renderable object or whatever it is. Or XY grid width. Oh, is it? Oh, God. Right? Duh. Everyone see what I did wrong there? Really stupid. Redefine a grid, which is my model. The grid sprite is Pixie's model on their version of this. So, we do this, and we do this. That will fix our thing. Okay. That was a dumb error. My bad. Doesn't matter how much experience you have, you do stupid things like that. You could be a developer your entire life. I swear to God, if I'm still doing this when I'm 70, I'll be making mistakes like that when I'm 70. I mean, it's just do it all the time, no matter what. There is no escape. See, now we're cooking. And now we have 6 there, and there's our other tiles. Hey, look at that, guys. Right? Now... Okay, so see this indexing? This is what I was getting at. These XY coordinates, this is where we have a problem. And this is where it gets a little funky, right? I think we need to come up with a convention here. So I'm going to use a convention of that I and J mean integer abstract grids. X and Y are always screen coordinates. What actually we want, now that I think about it, is we want to use like a point. We could create like a, you know, an index object, right, to distinguish from a point. And an index is an integer point, so to speak, of a 2D integer, a 2D index. I don't know, what do you guys think? What's the right way to do this? This is a design consideration. It could go either way. It's not that big of a deal, but it's going to get confusing, right? Because we have pixels and we have multiple coordinate systems, and we need to translate between coordinate systems. So maybe we should just have a coordinate system object and a coordinate system. If you've ever looked at like GIS systems, like geographical information systems for mapping and stuff like that, they actually have relatively robust models for this is a coordinate system, this is a coordinate system translation matrix, this is a projection from one to another. I mean, you could do really arbitrary, really neat stuff. We don't need anything that sophisticated, I think. All right. So tile sprite added to grid sprite. Awesome. And our XY coordinates, let's maybe we refactor this bit. Do you think we should? I and J? I think that's right. I think that's better. Because it's going to get wicked confusing. Oops. All right, there we go, right? IJ, 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 IJ. And, hey, something broke. That shouldn't be there. That means, like, something... Oh, you know what that is? That's my IDE. It thinks it's, like, it thinks it's being smart by seeing that and compiling it for me whenever it works. What looks... Oh, this right here? You mean the grid code? It's simpler than it looks, okay? I can show you. There's 2 ways to do this, okay? So, like, if we have a grid, right? You think about it, any 2D, right? Like, if we have a 2D, think of a spreadsheet, right? You can technically represent any spreadsheet as just one line, right? You could just pretend that it goes down, right? So we could have done this with just a simple array, and then use indexing and say, you know, and just rid a function. I happen to find it more intuitive myself to just create a 2D array. So what we're doing, it's very simple actually, really, really simple. It's not as complicated as it looks. We're looking at the generated, it actually looks, this is the same code. And it's a little simpler here, right? So all we're doing is we're creating an array of an array. So we're creating an array whose members are arrays, which is what you would think a 2D array is, right? Cells, rows and rows, rows and cells. And then we're just going through the width of our grid, right? We're saying for however long we define the width as, populate the x coordinate or the I coordinate and create an empty array there. Then go through every row and populate out each cell with the width and height. And then all we need to do, like, look, I mean, that's what makes it so easy. I mean, we really don't even need tile at. We could just do grid and then index it like an array and it would work. I mean, that's kind of cool, right? But, oh, okay, great. With the 2D for region sections, that's okay. I'll tell you what, let's do this. We're gonna, let me wrap up what I'm doing here. We actually made a little progress. I'll get to a good point to stop and then we'll pick that up and see what we can do. I'd be happy to work on that a little bit. So it's not as complicated as it looks. This is pretty simple code. This is standard 2D array. The code in C++ or Java or JavaScript would look almost exactly like this any way you do it. If it supports 2D arrays, it would look something almost exactly like this. There's only really one way to do it. You know, it's not one of those things. There's a ton of interpretation. It's not open for a ton of interpretation. Right? I think this should work. Okay, so we normally just make a single dimension array, and then, yeah, x, y times width plus x. That's what I was going to say. That's the other way of doing it, right? I agree. That was actually the way I started, and then I was like, you know what? I kind of like I just like the simplicity of being able to use the indexing. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. And Ned, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what I expect. If you go back and look at the videos, you will see me doing exactly that, and then being like, you know what? Let's just do this at double index, because. Yeah, no problem, Zordlax. I'm going to wrap up here, and we'll work on your stuff a little bit later. Sounds good, man. Thank you. But y times width plus x is like you say. That's what I was getting at. You can do it as a one-dimensional array, and then just use the indexing function. You could easily change the implementation under the hood, and nothing will change. That's the idea behind. That's the only reason I created that function here, like this tile at. We don't really need that, right? But I created it because maybe I do decide that I want to do this, or maybe I do it in Redis, or maybe I actually serialize it as a string of stuff. I mean, who knows, right? You know, you don't care about how it's going to be implemented. Right now, this is kind of not necessary, but someday this might get replaced. This might be a 100-line function for all I know, right? Unlikely, but okay. Back to the code. What were we working on? So the IJ, we were just going to, right, we got to compile, make sure this still all works. Oop. Oh, you know, the other things, I might have multiple node instances running. Let me just that might be why I was having nope. It's funny because, like I said, my IDE is actually another node instance. You can see here with all the flags running. This is Adam, it's just a node.
Everything
right.
seems to be okay. I can hear the thunder and a child's fright.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is, you know, like the format. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of graphics programming in Java. I've done most of the graphics programming I've done has been in C++. I've made a Ruby library that wrapped up some low-level rendering stuff for like a TIFF. Like one of the things in the legal sphere, TIFFs are really used widely because they're fairly efficient for having black and white text. But if you do bitmaps, like real bitmaps, where each bit represents 0, 1 represents white or black, you no longer have 1 pixel per read, right? You have up to 8 per byte. And it changed, all the algorithms change and all that. So I had to write some low-level libraries to basically translate between the idea of bitmaps and color efficiently and work fairly efficiently. So back then when I was doing that, it was same kind of stuff, right? Tips are also more complicated because they're not like pings where it's just sequential. They can literally have pointers anywhere around within the file. It's kind of a freaking nightmare. So let's make sure we're still good. Make sure we got IJ right, and then IJ01, IJ02. We actually have a unit test in confirming this works, which should be broken now. That I think about it. Let's go back and fix that test. I have used the Java like window, like the what's it called, like like I've written Java GUIs. Not fun. Swing or whatever it is, you know. Try this. Just a minute. Oh. Hey. Our unit test run. That's a nice bonus. All right, so we're in pretty good. I think what I'm gonna do here. Wait, I wish that wouldn't delete that. I wouldn't. Wish it wouldn't generate that. That's gonna get sooner or later. That's gonna get added into my source tree accidentally. I just don't know how to configure it. All right, so let's get rid of you. You were generated. Tile at IJ, IJ, IJ. That's good. IJ, IJ, IJ. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. Let me take a look at what have we changed here so far. This is just that's meaningless. This is our changes. Okay. We did that SAS. We never checked that in. This is, okay. Very good. Right. Simple enough. I'm actually going to check this in. Looks like I might have a date. Hype. Actually, I gotta change that. I really shouldn't be having those pop up on screen. I didn't know that was gonna happen, so please excuse my personal messages there. Fact. And do not. Don't want a really nice woman to like say, screw you, you put my OkCupid thing up on thing. I don't want to speak to you. So, is there a way like I can configure this? Anyways. I'll go back and do that later. Okay. We were checking in our thing. So what we're going to call this check-in, this isn't associated with a particular issue. We just did it. So I don't have to worry about it. Normally what we do though, what's great about things is you can say closes, like number or whatever, and it will automatically close the issue for you. I love GitHub. It's a great way. Use the tile instead of XY, which we will use only for continuous screen coordinates. Continuous, well, or absolute, because it could represent pixel. Change grid indexing. Now that we got unit tests working and everything. So that's a good check-in. Not a bad day. I mean, obviously this is something that if I was just sitting here by myself and not answering questions, I probably would have banged that out in a half hour. But I don't mind taking my time this morning and explaining what I'm doing. There's value in that, I believe. So now, let me pull up Skype. I just realized he's gonna call me. I'm gonna pull up Skype, put this on this, so when we hear from Zordlox, we can play around with his issue. And I do encourage you to stick around and help, because again, I don't have all the answers, and I have a lot of experience, but not with necessarily everything everyone's doing. Feel free to add me on Skype, talk to me. By the way, I was gonna say my debauch sloth tag, I use it everywhere. Steam, Blizzard.net. I use it on Twitch. I use it on Twitter. I use it on, oh no, Twitter. My actual ID on Twitter is a little bit different. It's debauched_sloth. But otherwise, and feel free to friend me. Whatever. I would love to play some multiplayer. I just can't stream it right now. You don't recognize me? I wonder why. Haven't I logged in here? Let's try with the email. What did I just do? Facebook? How did I log in last time? It doesn't say. It's funny. Skype doesn't. Public profile, friend list, email, birthday, and hometown. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, Skype is acting weird. It's funny, it asked me to log. Why is it? Okay, for some reason, wait a minute, this is bogus. Skype is not, like, yesterday I just logged in, I created an account, and signed me up. Did create this yesterday and it was working fine. Oh, here we go. No, sorry, we didn't recognize something. I don't mind if you guys know this. This is my Gmail. Alright. Here. Sorry guys, bear with me in a moment. I'm just trying to get the setup for him. Because I know he's going to be back and I want to have Skype going, so. Oh, thanks again for the follow, Ned. I just noticed that. Thank you very much. So, I just said can't access your account. Oh, it didn't send me the email. Let's see. Where's Skype? Okay, well it's gotta be spam, right? No. And the emotes, oh my god, the emojis in my spam folder are like unbelievable. Okay. Skype is not sending me a recovery. It's funny. It's not working. Why, people? Why does it not work? Okay. God, I hate, you know, it's for some reason, anytime I try to use any Microsoft product, it just never freaking works. Like, anytime I have to use a Microsoft login, it just doesn't seem to want to work. Oh my God. Kidding me, Microsoft? How do I get this out of here? Hey, Zordlax, I'm just trying to, for some reason, my it's just no longer working today. My, what's it called? Skype. Let me look for something here. See if I can see my sign up if it gave me like a... No. I just want to make sure that I'm going to be in where you've said, like yesterday I logged in and everything was fine with Skype. Today I tried to use the exact same login and it's not working. I have no idea why that would be. It doesn't make any sense.
Move. Move. Move.
Yeah, Microsoft simply doesn't seem to want me to. I don't get it. I logged into Skype yesterday, right? I mean, you were there. You were there with me. I don't get this. I'm gonna try it with my Facebook. For some reason, it won't let me log in unless I use my Facebook. So it might not be the same login last time. Oh no, here we go. It says I'm new to Skype. But I'm not new to Skype. We used it yesterday. So here we go. This is I guess the new how you gotta find me now. I hate it. I want to edit it. Like, it really drives me nuts because I hate using Facebook because, again, I can't just call my username. I have to split it up into first and last name. I fucking hate using Facebook. Oh, here we go. Here's the reset. Hold on one sec. Wait a minute. Never mind. Don't use that. All right. My password. Okay, so let's try this again. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. Skype issues. Oops. Don't log me in. Wait, oh shit, it's gonna do this thing again. Yeah, it probably is the Illuminati. How do I get rid of this account? Audio, video, notifications. Privacy, general calls, messaging. I want to get rid of my content. Ah, there we go. Almost there. Let's try to see if this code works. So it says, here's a code to reset your password up for the Microsoft account thing, right? It doesn't give you any link to it, so where do I do that? Does anyone know how I'm supposed to do this? It gave me a reset code for, yeah, I know, right? I don't get it. It gave me a reset code, but it doesn't tell me where to use it, nor does it give me any link to actually use it. Like, what's the point of this? How do I know where to lose? I mean, this is some Microsoft account. I don't know what it is. All I know is I logged in with I just logged in yesterday to Skype after creating an account, and using the same account today no longer works. And I really don't want to use my Facebook. Let's try this. All right. Already have a recovery code. Fuck me. That code is not recognized. I might just give up on. I might uninstall Skype and just use something like. I'm seriously not really interested in figuring this out. I'm afraid for you. I'm afraid, Microsoft, if you're going to make it this hard, it was fine yesterday, and I don't know what they did wrong, why it changed in between. When I tried to log back in, it just won't work. All right, so sending a recovery code. We go back to freaking Gmail. And for whatever, it seems to take like 5-10 minutes for them to send it to you. I don't know why. Yeah, I know. I said the reset password is a password. No, it won't work in the password. That doesn't work. You have to go to their special recovery thing here. It's a big freaking pain in the butt. It's just, and plus, for some reason, Microsoft doesn't just instantly send you the code like everyone else on Earth. You have to wait like 5 minutes for the freaking thing to come in. Like, I don't know why that would be. Sending an email is about the simplest thing a server can do. Why it would take 5 minutes for them to send a recovery code, I cannot fathom. This is why I never use Microsoft products. I just really don't bother. I don't really feel like it's worth using outside of like a dedicated game machine, sure. But I mean, for actual usage, for like programming and working and sending email and doing stuff like this, God, can't imagine. I feel so bad. Alright. Sooner or later, I'm probably going to get this email, I assume. I know, right? Thank you, Bill. It's just, I mean, it's a little ridiculous. I mean, I still haven't received that thing. I mean, it's like the password reset. I mean, how long do I have to wait for an email with a 5-digit code in it? Is that hard to do, guys? So I gotta wait for the code, because the last one, again, it seems like the email isn't coming. The code expires before I get the email. So what good is that? Okay, enter code. We just gotta wait for the code to come. The last one it said was expired. Yeah, I think it expires after. I think it expires before they give you the password. I'm not getting the password in time. Yeah, again, I couldn't imagine not having a Unix system. Just without a Unix terminal, I would be lost. I can't fathom what it would be like to work on an operating system where you can't just see everything under the hood, exactly what's going on at all moments, and get all the source code for it and compile your own kernel. I can't fathom how people live like that. I'm sure it's perfectly good for most people. To me, it would be like a nightmare scenario. I don't mind it for dedicated gaming, but again, I don't ever troubleshoot anything on Windows. I create an image and wipe everything out. If I have a single problem, I just wipe it clean and go from a new image and never think twice about it. I don't see it. I don't think Windows is worth supporting. Just every place I've ever worked that I had to do Windows, we never troubleshoot anything. We take a machine, we wipe it clean, do a clean image, and don't even bother, because it takes 15 minutes to do that, and there's virtually no chance that whatever you're troubleshooting is going to take less time than that. So no one really, I mean, in the professional world, no one really supports Windows per se. You just wipe it. still no freaking code from these people. It's like, I don't get it. I don't understand why I can't just use Skype. It seems like it should be pretty reasonable. I assume they want me to use their product. One would think, right? They want me to use Skype. I mean, again, I needed a Windows machine for development too. There's a bunch of applications that simply aren't available for Mac. And again, you know, I need a dedicated Windows machine for Windows development at some point. And I'll have to just bite the bullet and deal with it at that point, but I'm not looking forward to it. Every time I've ever used Windows has been, if I've used Windows at all, it's been in a VM, you know, for, again, so it can't hurt me. If you run Windows in a VM, the worst case scenario is you can just kill the VM. It's not going to do anything wrong to your machine. Yeah, they're not going to give me a code, it looks like. I don't know if I can actually use Skype, I'm afraid. I don't understand. This worked so perfectly yesterday. I didn't do anything differently today. Let's try this. Maybe it's an email address. It's not an email address. Well, okay. I mean, do you still see me in Skype there? You know, that would be one thing. The only thing I can think of is if you still see me, is there any indication you can give me as to what I might need to do? Like what my address is, but what... Yeah, I don't know if I have... Do I have TeamSpeak? Come on. I want Microsoft to send me a... I want Microsoft to send me my recovery. I just want them to send me my code. That's what I really want. I did this at 12:35. It's 12:43, and I still haven't received my thing. And again, I think it's expiring by the time I get the code. Let me try this code again. Sorry, the code's not entering. Like, the fuck? Resend code. Nope. God damn it. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong here? They still aren't giving me any more password resets, huh? So what am I doing wrong? What is it? Live debauch sloth? What the... Well, how would anyone on Earth know what that... I mean, is there any way on Earth, any indication at all through that application that I would have needed to prepend live debauch... I mean, is there any way I could have known this without someone else having already added me and then come to my stream and speak to me and tell me what it's supposed to be? Is there any way on Earth I could have ever figured that out? I'm curious if there was literally any way I could have done that. How would I have figured that out if you didn't tell me, I guess is what I'm wondering. No, that doesn't work. Live debauch sloth. No. I mean... This is exactly what I logged in yesterday. I guarantee it. I know for a fact. And still no recovery email. Been 10 minutes. Okay. No. Hey, no. Uh-oh. Skype's also a huge... By the way, Skype is also really poorly run. It crashes. It runs out of memory all the time. Yeah, man, it's weird. We're trying to figure out why I can't get into Skype all of a sudden. It's like, I used it like crazy. Alright, Red Studio, let's try this again. One last time. It seems like by the time I actually get to sign in, See? Fuck you, Microsoft. Seriously, fuck you. Fuck Skype. I'm uninstalling right now. Go fuck yourself, Microsoft. Seriously. Find something else to use. I'll find something else. That is, like, unbelievable. Fucking empty trash. Fuck you, Skype. Yeah, again, I was on it yesterday. The video's proving it. We saw me log in. It's like, yeah, of course. You have all sorts of weird issues because it's a freaking piece of shit. Everything that Microsoft buys gets destroyed. Although, I mean, Minecraft can't be wrecked any more than... I mean, Minecraft is probably one of the worst coded pieces of shit in the history of Minecraft, like the history of coding. So they really can't fuck that up any worse than it already is. It's probably one of the worst design applications I've ever seen in my life. I hate modding it. My kid always wants these mod, and it's just the worst thing to have to deal with. I hate Minecraft as an application. I mean, it's a great game. It's just Notch doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I don't know how that guy he got so famous. He got lucky, just like Bill. I follow his Twitter and everything, but again, I just the application is just so freaking hideous and so bad. There's so many flaws with it. He really didn't bit off way more than he could chew. Nope. Yeah, we might have to use TeamSpeak here because again, Microsoft. It's not. They just got rid of my Microsoft account last night, and fuck them. I'm seriously pissed off about this. This is like really, they're fucking wasting my time. It drives me nuts. Yes, very salty. Thank you, Kellogg. Thank you. You're right. I am really salty about Minecraft too. Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's a great game. My kid plays it constantly. I mean, and I played it. I like it. It's just so badly designed. It's just such a bad... The code itself is just awful. I've decompiled a lot of it to look at it. Notch really doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sorry. Sorry, Notch. I love you. You're great, great man thing. I'm glad everything worked out for you. I'm glad, but I mean, God. All right, so we got TeamSpeak here. Is there... Well, where do we... Yeah, I mean, it's the concept I love. It's just... Java? God, for the love of God, why would you do that in Java? I mean, why would you make your life so miserable? Why would you have, why would you not have mod support from the beginning? Why would you, I mean, there's just so many bad decisions that went into making it the way it is, that it's just, I don't know. Anyways, it's just my opinion. Again, this is nothing against Notch personally. It seems like he's a decent guy and everything, but I just, ugh. You know. Yeah, so I got TeamSpeak 3. Is there a public server or something we can go on? I'm not really used to TeamSpeak, honestly. But yeah, I am in TeamSpeak right now. Awesome, man. You can PM me if you don't want to give out the IP on the stream. Feel free to PM me it, by the way. And Kellogg, welcome, by the way. I don't believe I've seen you before. If you've been here before and I missed you, I apologize. And if this is your first time here, welcome and thank you for coming. Right now, we're kind of I know it's a little, you came here for development, but we're going to help, Zordlox has been working on a little fishing bot. And it was such an interesting little problem that we figured we'd continue it today. And he got some good ideas. I'm copying that. Oh, please don't worry about it. You're not giving me a hard time. You can say whatever you want to me. I don't give a shit. I'm not like, I don't care. You're not going to offend me, I assure you. And again, I'm happy to have you here. Everyone's welcome. You weren't giving me a hard time at all. I understand. I can infer sarcasm when I see it. All right, connections. Oh, wait a minute. So do I need the HTTP? I don't need the HTTP or anything in there, right? We just want the address. Is there a there's no password or anything? Hey, there you are. Can you hear me? I think we're both in the long. I see you there. All right. Oh wait, is that? There we go. Can you hear me now? I think I had it muted. Actually, do I have to configure this? I realize this is going to work. OBS and everything else going on. It should work fine, right? Skype worked. Hey, Clusen, what's up? Welcome. Welcome back. Hey, nice. And Ned, thank you very much for coming by. I really appreciate you stopping in. It was really nice to see you. And enjoy. Check out that new laptop. I hope it looks cool and you and your friend have fun. We're Clusen, we having a problem with Skype, but Microsoft decided I was no longer a Skype user and got rid of my account and won't let me log in today. As of last night sometime, it decided I'm no longer allowed to use Skype. So I go to the creative channel. Aha. There we go.
Hey.
Can you hear me? I think I heard you. Yeah, Clusen, that's exactly what we were about to get started on. We were trying to set up Skype like we had yesterday, and it was giving me problems. So we just jumped into TeamSpeak, and we're about to get set up now and try a new strategy. Zordlox was looking at was doing some translation of the video last night and Battlefish and poking around, and realized that what he's doing is actually using two small areas and not just one. He's using two small areas, I believe, and looking for the bob to happen between those two small areas. So I think that's what we're going to explore today. So, Zordlox, okay, so where do we go from here? Can you help me figure out what we need to do?
I can hear you just fine.
Ah, wait a minute, I can hear you. Let me turn this up. See if I can hear you a little better.
Yep.
Change volume. There we go. Can you talk for me a bit?
Hello?
Hello there?
Yeah, I think I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't want to give you too much distortion by moving it up. And sorry if you guys can't hear him on the desktop audio. Skype was a lot better last time, but. So can we do a desktop share through TeamSpeak like we did?
What do you mean?
Well, like we did with the share with the. Can you show me your desktop?
Are you using push to talk? Or voice activation?
I'm sorry, one sec. Let me turn down the music so I can hear you a little bit better. If you don't mind, guys, I'm gonna. And shush, monster cat. There we go. Okay, better. Now, let me turn up the desktop audio. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Can you guys say? Can anyone? If anyone on the stream can let me know if they can hear him, then that's good. Oh yeah, join me to use desktop sharing too. Yeah. What does that work through Team? I'm curious because I'm not really familiar with TeamSpeak.
I can hear you just fine.
Do we need to do that or can we do it right through TeamSpeak? Good. Thank you guys. Thank you, Kellogg. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Do you want to use Join Me, or is there some other mechanism we need to do this?
You might want to do voice activation.
What's that?
The push to talk.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. You can hear me through the thing, but...
Because it keeps cutting out.
Yep. Thank you.
You go to settings.
Uh,
Setup wizard, I think.
Preferences, something like that.
And you can do it from there.
Wait a minute. Where is it? Push to talk, mouse button 1. Yeah, I don't even have a mouse on. Okay. What are we looking for here? It'll be here somewhere. Capture. Push to talk. Voice activation. There we go. Testing. 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 We're going to bring this down a little bit. Somewhere red. Testing. Okay, that will work. Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for bearing with me, guys. Okay. So again, now what do we want to do? How do we solve the desktop issue? Do we do that join me, or is there another or can we do it through TeamSpeak?
I don't know, actually.
Me neither. This is new to me. Am I gonna let in a little more light? Nah.
I don't think we can.
All right, let's use join me then. Kellogg had the great, again, this is why I love doing this with the chat on Twitch. It's because there's always, even if you only have a few people in chat, there's always someone who knows something that you need, right?
How do we use join me?
I don't know. I'm gonna check it out right now.
I downloaded the desktop app. Okay.
Oh, it's one of those things. Yeah, I see it. Oh, it's a commercial app though. Wait a minute. 1 second here.
It's connecting.
I got an idea too. I wonder if I just download Skype right again. Try installing it fresh again. If it will actually let me do the thing I had, because Skype worked like a charm when it worked, right? Yeah. I mean, what we're trying to do here is he's got a little So Kellogg, the way we were doing this yesterday, actually, if you look on the highlight, if you look yesterday from my vids on the Twitch, or I pushed it up to YouTube too. Same thing, Debauch Sloth on YouTube. You could see what we were working on yesterday and how we were doing it.
Go to this link.
Okay.
Wake up.
I've been poked. Look at that. Oh, we can talk that way. Well, we're talking through TeamSpeak, so I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're waiting. I'm waiting for your presenter. Okay, good. Let's we'll pull this on full screen here like this. All right. Very good. Thank you for hanging in there, guys. And again, thank you for Kellogg for the suggestion. I appreciate it.
Can you see my screen?
It's popping up. Yep. There we go.
You can see
Oh,
it?
yep. Yeah, I see my stream on your screen. Very meta.
Oh god, this is strange.
Hey, you know wow, geez, my stream is a little higher quality than I thought it was. Not so bad.
This, yeah.
I mean, all things considered, right? I think I'm getting, what am I at? I'm like 7% CPU or something right now. Not too bad. Or 8.5.
Alright, let's open up this.
Yeah, let's get your bot going again. Let's see how this goes.
I was trying to mess around with it, so. Let's see. Let's just delete all this.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. It's kind of like a little squirrely at the moment.
Behind.
Let's see. I'm curious what these. Oh, request mouse control. I got you. Okay, interesting.
I'm just trying to make sure I can get it.
Whoa.
No. Okay, let's get this. No, I don't. Oh, I know what I'm doing.
It's it's interesting. It's not updating for me. I would notice.
Okay, so we're back at the beginning. I got it. You see it?
No, actually, I mean for whatever reason the screen share is not working at the moment. You know what? Let me try refreshing.
Now you see it?
No, hold on. All right, let me just gonna refresh. I got a lot going on this machine. It's not until okay. There we go. Yep.
Viewer 2 is joined.
I got you. I see it now.
Viewer 2.
I think I see it now. So, keystroke F, while true, if found pictured, then else keystroke. So this is kind of where we were last week, right? I mean, last night. And how is it working for you so far? Where are we at right now? Like, let's see where we stand.
All right, let's go to here.
High latency, yeah, high latency weirdness, man. I know. That's why I was saying the Twitch worked like I mean, I gotta say, one thing about Skype is when he shared his desktop over Skype, it worked like a charm. I mean, it was like I could have been broadcasting it from my own machine.
It moves it though. Let's see.
I'm gonna also try to see if I can get Skype working again too, because that
the idea that I was trying to work on.
What's that?
I had an idea.
Yeah, I was curious. I want to see. I'm definitely interested. Very much interested in the idea. Where you.
Let me just. Because if we do it, we have to do it the set area, so it would always be the same place.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
mean that's the thing, right? You know, if
So I made a set place.
oh, you found a set place to test from, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
That will always be the same location.
very
You
good.
know what I mean?
That makes it. I think that makes it a little more uniform, easier to test, right?
So if we put it there, then we if what if we did like this?
Wait a minute, one sec. Sorry,
Oh gosh,
I'm also trying to get the Skype going here. Okay,
gosh, I need to do this.
there we go. See, it's not refreshing.
Got it. It recognizes it.
Wait a minute, one sec.
Let's do this. If found in the picture, then
All right, you know what?
this is why I got a little confused.
Okay, wait a minute,
So
one
we
sec.
can-
You know what I am gonna do is I'm going to have to log in. Wait a minute. Let me see. I think that this is I know what I did wrong. I think I might have.
Am I still sharing screen?
It's dropping frames like crazy. I mean, we're not really getting anything out of it.
How about now?
Wait a minute. Ah, hey, get this. Wait a minute. Let's get off of this. Wait a minute. Forget about joining me for a
Skype.
minute. Screw that.
You on Skype?
I'm on Skype, man.
How do you get on?
I don't know. I just instead of so what I did is instead of logging in with the Facebook or the Gmail, I had to select Microsoft account and then give the exact same thing I was giving already, and it.
Okay, let's go on Skype.
You know, I don't know why that was. Okay, so I'm gonna jump off TeamSpeak here because I think that is also just sucking up an inordinate amount of resources.
Hey.
And excellent.
It's so much cleaner now.
Much better. I mean, again, the Skype did work much better. So thanks again for everyone bearing with us while we got this set up. Now, yeah, see here, now we're cooking. This is working much better. Let me full screen this. All right, now we're cooking here. So show me what you got and let's see where we stand.
So, I took the image from this. You can see the let me just place it. You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You see the I'll show you. You see the bottom of it?
Yeah. More weirdness, more latency. That's okay.
But you see this one I'm pointing at, like the color of it?
I think that's.
It recognizes it on the screen.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
So I was thinking that if we put it in a specific region, oh gosh, I need to do that again. That it would recognize it in only that.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what we were trying to do yesterday, right? And now you were mentioning about the 2 regions, right? Like that someone had it set up where they set 2 regions for the detection.
That's what the Vietnamese guy did.
Yeah.
So see how it's up here? It bounces up when. Let's see if I can show you.
Yeah, Cleveland, hopefully this is better. I know we knew it was all messed up, but I was just trying to find it. The problem was I couldn't log in the Skype.
Up?
I'm sorry, what'd you say there?
Do you see how it bounced up?
Yeah.
So what if we made it so it recognized that it bounced up? Then when it bounced up to that section, that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So yeah, as long as the relative position, again, one of the things we haven't figured out is like how this works. I'm pretty sure. What I would do actually is like, here, let me use my mouse to kind of demonstrate. Like I would use the smallest section, like, you know, just like a section from here to here, right? Like just like this, and then as soon as the red shows up.
Like this? Is this a good enough size?
I would make it smaller, like above it, like because it's gonna bob up and down, right? And now keep it smaller. Like now, I see where the square I'm making here. Like I would put it like just like that.
Are you doing it on?
Oh no, I mean my mouse. Like I'm using my mouse to draw. Like I would make it just a little bit bigger than that red thing, just a little bit, right? And so then when it dips out, right? Is that what we were doing yesterday? We're just kind of trying to. We're continuing what we were doing yesterday, but we're using, you know, we're playing around with the regions. It looks like you got a much better hang on this. So let's see how that works, right?
I want to see if it recognizes it. Let's see. Cannot find it.
Yeah, see that's the thing is you move though. You can't move the screen. This is why it's so hard. You cannot move like the whole all those pixels, those I'm almost positive that those are all relative to exactly where you're pointing in the screen. If you move the mouse at all of those numbers mean nothing anymore. The moment you touch the mouse, it's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you have any other idea?
Well, I think it'll. See that? There you go. See, that's what I was saying is if you put it like right on the top of the little red, like make that smaller. Again, it's tough because you got to really figure out how can you do this without moving the mouse, like without moving your character at any ever moving him. If you can do that, if you can't do that, if it's just impossible to really not move or prevent from moving, I don't think you can do this because you have to be in a specific position. You have to have the camera pointing somewhere, and then it can never move. Everything you enter into that GUI now, everything you entered in is meaningless because you accidentally moved it slightly off. That means none of the numbers are going to match anymore. You got to be able to like have him not ever move, or else none of the relative numbers are ever going to make any sense. You know what I mean? It's always going to be a little off. But
what if we do it in the entire screen?
Yeah, we did that before. That might work here too. Let's give it a shot.
So what do I do?
And just run it. I want to see. You know, remember when it was showing it running down here? There we go. There we go. It's working. It's doing what we want. Let's see when it bobs.
I think so.
This is good.
Let's
This
see.
is good.
1 second.
It is a little easier to deal with this when you're down below the water, isn't it? Okay, good. Same thing. We were at the exact same spot we were last night. Let's take a look up at that code. Notice here, it's still running. Look, it never loops. It never ends looping, right? You got to stop it manually. That's our problem. We're not triggering the F on the way back up. Whatever it is that's supposed to be doing that, we got to figure that part out. But you're really close. So let's take a look at that GUI.
Okay, I'm back. So do you have any idea?
Yeah, well, like I was going to say, let's take a look at the code. I can see what's wrong. I mean, I can see what's not working in that the loop. Well, you can see it's still looping. It's still running right now, right? You see that down at the bottom?
Oh,
yeah. It never finishes. And that's because, so, okay, it found on the picture, then do nothing, right? There's a way, right, let me slow down. Let me see the code again. That's okay for now. If found picture, then else keystone F.
Okay.
It's there, so the picture is still off. I think again, it just boils down to the fact that the coordinates again. Once you have to say, wait, yeah, that where to search in the picture. Anytime you move the mouse, that whatever you enter, okay, where is it? This cut bimp from screen or wherever it is, or the region you add. Where is the region? Like I don't know how you do that region thing. Anytime you move the mouse, the last time you did it is meaningless again. You have to set this up specifically. You have to get your guy to where it's supposed to be located. Make sure he's never going to touch the mouse and he's never going to get moved. So like unplug the mouse. Make sure there's no way for you to accidentally move him maybe. And then draw it every single time you find a spot you want to fish from. You have to get the mouse lined up exactly. Never move him. Set the region up, configure it in this thing, and then run it, and it might work. But I don't see any way around having to reset the region every single time you ever accidentally touch the mouse. You have to start over from scratch and reset it up to be exactly where it is relative to your position pointing to the camera in the world. Again, these are all relative coordinates. The moment you move a little bit, those coordinates mean nothing again. You know? Can you move the cam to see? Oh! Thank you very much. I certainly can. And thank you for the tip. Excellent idea. We did this last time. Oh, where is my... Perfect. Okay. You see what I'm saying though? Because like if we look at the code, you can see what it's doing is looking for something within a region, right? It's looking for that. Oh, it's looking on the entire screen, right?
Yeah,
so what it means is, what it might mean is that it's simply fine. Oh, wait a minute. We have a problem. Look down here. That red, I bet you that red, one of these pixels it matches that. Or is 90% close enough to that, right? You're going to have to do a region. Because otherwise just the UI itself is going to cause a problem.
The specific region?
So what I would do, like again, here, watch where I'm going to put my mouse here, right? Yeah, even that's too big. Too big. Don't do the whole thing. Don't do the whole thing. Do it just like this. Just like make it about a 10. Yeah, like right there. That's perfect. Now move it up higher.
Oh, this is where I took the pixel from.
That'll work. But then keep in mind, again, I would put it right up here because as soon as the thing dips, we know it's going to be gone, right?
What, here?
Yeah, somewhere around there. That should work. Let's try that.
Like that.
Now, don't move the
See.
mouse, and we'll try running it. Up, too late.
I have to move it
That won't work
back.
anymore, I don't think.
I have to move it to put it here, like there. See?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work because again, like
Let's see. Does it? No.
see, it's not gonna. Those coordinates. The moment you move the mouse, those coordinates mean nothing anymore.
have
That's
to
the
move the
that's the
mouse.
problem, right? You know what I mean? It's just this. You have to figure out a way to not move your character. He has to stay absolutely because he's pointing at any arbitrary location in space, right? This is a three-dimensional model. You can point anywhere, and every time you move a little bit, the screen coordinates are completely reset. Local screen coordinates are always relative to where you're pointing. So if you move even slightly bit, those the numbers you just drew on the screen don't mean anything. That's you know they're all new numbers. They represent new places which may or may not have that color in it. You know, and I think that's the problem is that we can't align the region with the now. I have thought a lot about this. I will say, Zordlox, what I've been thinking about is the way to do this. First of all, putting it into first person was a pretty good idea, right? Or I don't know if you're in first person, but it kind of looks like it. What I was thinking was using more, again, like what we were talking about originally, using OpenCV. What we really want to do is like edge detection. We want to find the bobber object and track it all, track the guy, know where the guy is, know where the bobber is, and be able to identify both of those features, not just through a particular pixel color, but like it's outlined by using computer vision. That would be really robust and it's doable, but that's like, I don't, again, the fishers I think will work. The bot will work, but we got to figure out a way to like lock your position and camera without, if there's some way to do that, you're in good shape. But show them. Can we run it just so everyone on chat can see how it runs and what the problem is here? It's looping. So the idea here is we press F. That fires off the cast, and now we're waiting for a particular. We're waiting for the bobber to leave a screen region, and when it leaves, that should trigger the press the F to pull it back in. The problem is that again, every time you move a tiny bit, the coordinates you just entered go away, are meaningless again. So you got to start over. And again, you got to do this every time you set it up, and then you can't move the camera. And even if even moving it a couple pixels is going to be enough to probably lock it, cause a problem.
In the entire screen. Let's try that. Can it?
Yeah, again, I don't think that's going to work because the color, again, there is, if anything on the screen is that color, because it's doing a full screen cap. It doesn't know, I don't think that'll work because, again, you can see here it'll keep going forever. Because, again, it will always find that here. It'll find that color down here.
Mm-hmm.
Or the bobber, or it's in your bobber thing, right?
So,
like, see that? The problem is if we do the full screen, there's already a bobber down there. They'll find that bobber every time, which is why it never stops looping because it's still finding it, still finding it, still finding it. That's why you've got to set up the region, and you have to not move. That's the only way I can see this working with the tool you have, quite frankly. Again, and I defer to Clusin and Kellogg and anyone else who happens to still be here. If you can think of another way, if I'm missing something or there's some other way to do this, then that would be cool. But I really don't see how you can do this aside from setting up a region from a specific camera angle and then never move and let it run, and that should work. But you're going to have to set it up again every time. So the moment you move the camera, throw it away, start over. You got to start over, right? And do a new region.
Do you think we should do a different program?
Huh?
Do you think we should use a different program?
I don't think so, because honestly, the different program is going to do the same thing. It's going to look at pixels on the screen, and you're going to have to compare them, and you're going to have to do regions. I mean, the problem isn't so much the script. The script will work fine. The problem is you can't. It's really hard to keep the script aligned. If you got to give it a small region in order for the bob to work, or else you can't just look on the entire screen because the bobber is too similar to other stuff. So you got to use a small region that's specifically going to just contain a part of the bobber and then not contain a part. And that should work if you get a very small spot right at the top of the bobber and you don't move it and you configure it right and you never actually move the thing and run it. It should work, but it's so hard. It's going to be really hard to actually just physically do with your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's exactly what's going on. The full screen thing is not going to work because, again, you're going to find the same bobber colors. There's too many pixels. I mean, if you think of this as just a big array of pixels, there's too many things that match with it. So you got to do a small region. But, like, for example, set it up so you know where you're going. Okay, now open up the, so can we open up the thing now? Yeah. Okay. Now, in that thing. Let's see if we can set up the region to be like just right there. Yeah, just that little bobber there. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, just like that. All right, now go back to the thing. Don't touch anything in this game, right? Because we just want to go back to the script. No.
It doesn't even. I didn't even touch it.
There we go. Boom. Yeah, that's
I
okay.
can't find
Don't
it now.
don't touch anything, and we'll try doing it. Let's try running the script. Ah, too bad we moved.
I didn't mean to.
I know, it's okay. It's almost impossible to do. I don't know how we're gonna, you know what I mean? It's waiting for it's not even finding the picture. See here? Because at first it was finding it, but now. This is really tough. This is really tough using the tools we got here, honestly. I'm trying to think of how we could do, again, without using any real edge. See, in their shaders, you notice how they're doing edge detection here? Like they're it's actually kind of neat the way they do their shading. I like their texture.
Did you see how the guy in the video did it?
Again, I don't know, but I think again he did it by just being very careful and not moving the thing. It will work when you set it up and leave that guy there. If you notice in the videos though, he's not moving. At least in what I saw, it's none of those guys move after he sets it up. He has some way. For some reason, he's figured out mechanically how to not move his guy. That's what you need to figure out. The script, I think you've got right. I think it's just a question of how do you not move him and mess the script up, because every time you move, the script is no longer valid.
Hey, dude, I actually have to go right now. Will you be on in a little bit?
Yeah, I'll be around, man.
Okay.
Hey, again, I'm glad you. Thanks for coming in, and we'll keep working on it. Again, I think it's doable. It's a question of how to avoid moving him. But I think your script is very close. How do you get in that region?
We can always do the time thing.
Yeah, you could try the time thing again, right? We did go that back. Hey, Clusen, thanks again. Come on, feel free to stop in anytime. We'll be here. I'm going to be here all day, except for a break for lunch. Actually, maybe it's a good time to break for lunch if we're going to break for this for a bit. What do we got? Yeah, 118. All right. Yeah. You almost need to automate like the pressing of the keys in the automation. You need a second automation to automate the automating of the automation. That makes sense? You know what I mean? So you don't accidentally press anything, the wrong thing. That's the only other thing. I mean, we can have multiple meta levels of botting here if we want to get really crazy. Or again, we can go into the artificial intelligence route and start using something like OpenCV to write a real CC++ application that's going to actually identify bobbers specifically and use them the same way we do facial recognition. Like it'll identify the feature, keep a box, and keep track of them, and we could do all that stuff. And then when we see it move a little bit, that's pretty sophisticated. But that would be that way you could move the camera around in every frame. It wouldn't care. Just look at it as an arbitrary video, and you could move it without screwing it up. That would be really hard to do, but it's certainly doable in theory. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Just for those, this is kind of curious. This is neat. Oh, I killed my browser accidentally. This is what I was using for that logo stuff back at Merrill. So you can see they have a whole bunch of methods here. And basically what this library does is it will read video feeds and do feature detection. Feature 2D framework. Okay. See if we can find an example. See, categorization, drawing function, stuff like that. This is really, if you want to do a really robust solution, this would work. 3D visualizer. What do we got here? Object detection. It's a couple different methods of doing this. Okay, so see, this is something I believe we could train it to look for the bobber feature. This is going to let you see what this basically does is allow you to find stuff, whether it's shifted, rotated, scaled, right? Which is exactly the problem we have. because when we look around, when we move the mouse and you move the character, suddenly everything changes. It's no longer just this bobber. It can get smaller, it can get larger relative to the camera because you have this arbitrary camera position. That's really what we need, is something like that to be really super robust. But that again is getting to the point where it's like it would take you might as well just, the amount of time you take to do it would take you could do the fishing you're trying to do 4 or 5 times over. So anyways, looks like we have a few people. I'm going to take a quick break for lunch since we have our viewers are kind of taking a break here. This looks like a good time. It's about 1:20. I am going to try to return about 1:40 p.m. and we will pick up where we left off with the development. And if anyone has any more questions or any other stuff they want to work on, we'll keep giving it a shot. I mean, I'm not. I'm really curious how they do that. I want to look at those. We can take a look at those bot videos we were looking at before, because I suspect it is simply that they just figured out a way to not let them move after the script runs, and that should work. But it's just it's so easy to screw up. I'm not exactly sure how we'll solve that. That's an interesting problem, meta problem. So anyways, I'm going to sign off for a bit, and we will be back online soon, about 40 minutes or so, and we'll pick up where we left off, and we'll either do some more development or more troubleshooting or whatever it is folks want to see. Again, I appreciate everyone who's come out this morning. You guys are what makes the stream not awful. If it was just me, it would be a lot more boring. So thank you guys for coming.